Rockets went out and captured the NBA title. Now, as they prepare to defend that crown, there's only one thing on their minds.
Are you ready for some football?
The Philadelphia Eagles quarterback is a gridiron magician, a master of illusion, a practitioner of sleight of hand. Your eyes may see, but they won't believe. Tonight, you'll be watching the greatest escape artist in the NFL. His ability to frustrate opposing pass rushers with his elusiveness has made him one of the most dynamic and entertaining performers in the game today. He is the NFL's all-time rushing leader among quarterbacks. He is Randall Cunningham.
If I can escape out of a straitjacket, if I can escape out of a pocket, it's all the same thing. It's showmanship. And I think that people like Deion Sanders, myself, so we have a little bit of flash to us. But if that's what the fans enjoy, escaping or whatever it takes is what it's all about.
Also in Randall's bag of tricks is levitation. He possesses the ability to raise his body to unthinkable heights, often elevating his entire team to victory in the process.
I'll go up, try to get about 20 yards, step out of bounds, jump over somebody's head, do whatever it takes to win. That's just my style, and I love it. And I'm going to continue playing like that.
Randall Cunningham's magic act will be on display tonight as the Eagles take on the Houston Oilers on ABC's Monday Night Football.
The hits, the bangs, and the flops. It's a Super Bowl season driving in full gear. ABC's big party, the 25th year. We gotta get ready, we gotta get right, 'cause the Oilers and the Eagles are flying high tonight. So get ready. I mean, get ready. Are you ready for some football? For Monday Night Party? We got Frank and Al and Dan. They're gonna get it kick-started. Lynn and the crew's all set. The crowd is psyched, 'cause all my rowdy friends are back for Monday night.
The skyline of downtown Philadelphia on a beautiful October evening. Philadelphia, the home of the Liberty Bell, a familiar symbol of American freedom. A few miles away, Veterans Stadium, home of the Philadelphia Eagles, where tonight the Eagles will meet the Houston Oilers on ABC's Monday Night Football. Hello again, everyone. Frank Gifford with Al Michaels and Dan Dierdorf. Happy you're with us tonight. A good matchup for you, an interesting matchup for you tonight. The Philadelphia Eagles, coming off a tough loss last week against the Dallas Cowboys, are 4-2 in the Eastern Division of the NFC, and they need a win tonight to stay within one of the Dallas Cowboys, a team that they feel they are the equal to, but they will not meet again until December the 4th. Meanwhile, the Houston Oilers are off to a horrendous start. They come in at 1-5 tonight, struggling everywhere you look. There are rumors of dissension within the locker room. There have been bickering going on. They have lost to one man who apparently can run the run-and-shoot defense. They traded him. I'm speaking, of course, of Warren Moon. But this is a team that is starting to get healthy in various positions. Alan, if Philadelphia is going to look past Houston tonight, they may find themselves in trouble with like a wounded animal. This team is desperate right now.
Last time we saw the Oilers, as you know, Frank, 3 weeks ago, they were dreadful on a Monday night, and the best thing they may have going for them tonight is peer pressure. They know most every other player in the National Football League sits at home and watches Monday Night Football, and they don't want to be embarrassed again. Now, the problem is, at the moment, they're just not a very good football team. Defensively, they've been playing okay, but offensively, they have been terrible. At least they get Cody Carlson back tonight. He hasn't played in 3 weeks because of knee and shoulder injuries, and they do get their top running back, Gary Brown, back in the lineup as well. He's missed a month with a twisted ankle. But Jack Pardee, their head coach, said last night the key to our win is our offensive line. They have to protect Carlson and block for Brown. Tonight they go against the Philadelphia Eagles, and while Houston looked horrible the last time we saw them on a Monday night, the Eagles look terrific in week 2 here against Chicago, Dan.
And Al, I think the key there is here, because boy, do the Eagles love to play at their home, the Vet. They have a winning streak of 18 consecutive regular game wins here at the Vet when Randall Cunningham is the starting quarterback. Also on Monday night, they have won 8 consecutive Monday night games here at home. This goes all the way back to the Carter administration. Now, on the heels of that, it sounds a little strange to say that if they're to extend those streaks, Randall Cunningham is going to have to bounce back. He had a really poor game last week down in Dallas, that 24-13 loss, 4 interceptions and a fumble. Now, Randall talked in our open about the love of escaping. Well, he's going to get that chance tonight. Jeff Fisher's Houston Oiler defense will blitz him 35 or 40 times tonight. Randall Cunningham on the move. That's entertainment.
And the Philadelphia Eagles and Randall Cunningham will get the ball right off the bat as they have won the toss, and Al Del Greco has just 1 touchback this season, and that's a familiar story. A huge difference in 1994, moving the spot of the kickoff back to the 30-yard line. Jeff Seidner and Vaughn Hebron are back to receive on a beautiful night in Philly. Here we go. Hebron will gather in the kick at the 7-yard line. And Vaughn escapes 1 tackle at the 18 and then brings it back to the 23. So Randall Cunningham trying to bounce back after the performance last week with 4 interceptions and a fumble against the Dallas Cowboys. 9 TDs, 7 picks in his 10th year out of Nevada, Las Vegas. Herschel Walker and the great-looking rookie Charlie Garner in the backfield. Barnett and Williams, excellent wideouts. Bavaro, the tight end. And the line has really come along. Bernard Williams was their #1 draft choice from Georgia, with Davis, Alexander, Holmes, and Thompson, the interior 5. They start from an I from the 23-yard line. And on first down, here is the rookie, Charlie Garner, who picks up a yard, maybe 2, up to the 25-yard line. Lathan makes the tackle, Lamar Lathan. Now the Oilers defensively. Kenny Davidson is the ex-Steeler. Childress has been a rock through the years. Montgomery and Lathan up front. The linebackers, Robinson, the unheralded Al Smith, steady and solid in the middle, and the hard-hitting Barrow. Dishman and Lewis are the corners. Bishop and Robertson are the safeties. Bubba McDowell still out of the lineup. Bishop takes his spot. Bubba back next week in all likelihood. 2nd and 8. Fred Barnett in motion. Cunningham to throw, but everybody's covered, so Randall takes off, seeks a first down, and comes close. He's out of bounds after a pickup of close to 8 at the 33-yard line, forced out by Davidson and Robinson. A little shy of the first as they spotted at the 32-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 1.
One thing we can certainly look for tonight as we take a look again at Randall Cunningham, still willing, even after those 2 almost career-ending injuries, to take off and fly for the first down. This, he squirts and tries to get it. He doesn't get it, but we started to say a moment ago, whenever we see Charlie Garner in, the rookie you talked about, we are going to see a running play by Philadelphia, and apparently they're a little late getting the play in. They're running out of time. They have to burn a timeout.
So the Eagles have to stop the clock just 1 minute and 14 into the game. Philadelphia forced to take an early timeout. Upcoming a 3rd and 1, and Randall Cunningham this year has carried the ball 7 times on 3rd and 1 and has been successful on each occasion. The Eagles as a team 17 for 18 on 3rd and 1. Walker and Garner in the backfield. Opening drive of the game. Philly from its own 32. There's movement up front as Garner takes it up to the 34-yard line. Appears to have the first down. Wortham makes the tackle. No flag on the play. Montgomery and Alexander appeared to be moving before the snap.
Montgomery looked to me like he was in the neutral zone. If not, he was real close to it. He definitely had rocked forward, fell forward in his stance, and must have been far enough from the ball that he didn't fall into the zone.
Take a look.
There he is, 94 at the bottom of our screen. The only explanation for that is that he was so far off the ball that he had that room to give without getting into the neutral zone.
No penalty, and it's academic in a way because they pick up the first down from the 34-yard line. Cunningham. The catch is made by Barnett, who's loose on the sideline. And Barnett is out of bounds back at the 31-yard line, and there's a flag down in the offensive backfield.
And this has every indication of coming back.
That's the old hold flag.
The linemen don't like to move if they don't have to, and when they stay in one place, it's a pretty good indication of plays coming back.
Gary Lane is the referee. It will be holding against the Eagles. Bernard Williams.
Holding offense.
Number 74. 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
Well, that's their very talented number 1 draft choice playing left tackle. His normal matchup is with Lamar Lathan, and there it is, number 57's Lathan. There's our look. Oh, actually, it's the hit by the back who actually knocks Lathan down. Herschel Walker was really doing a nice job on the pass protection. That was more appearance than it was actually the hold.
Negates a 36-yard gain, makes it 1st and 20 from the 24-yard line. And this is Garner with a huge hole through the middle behind a block from Herschel Walker, taking it out to the 32-yard line.
Little Charlie Garner, if you have not watched him, he is something extraordinary. The rookie out of Tennessee, 5'9", 181 pounds, plays a lot bigger than that. He will not be in the ball game when the Eagles are going to pass the football. They do not want him in there because, as Dan pointed out, the Houston Oilers blitz about 30% of the time. He is not big enough, strong enough, or perhaps wise enough at this point in his career to pick up the blitz, so they don't want him in there. When he's in there, he's going to run the football. And that's it.
He's hurting. He has a damaged rib, but is playing through the pain. It is 2nd down and 12 as Cunningham on a reverse roll simply throws it away.
Oh, nice work in the backfield again by Herschel Walker. Picks up the blitz. Michael Barrow was coming in, number 56. Had a line stunt working inside. Montgomery comes around the corner, and Herschel Walker actually ends up getting both guys. Look at Walker. There's the hit on Barrow, and then he goes on through and ends up hitting Al Smith, the linebacker, coming in as well. Boy, that's really nice work by one of the fine blocking backs in the National Football League, Herschel Walker.
He's a lot of things.
He is. Maybe the most unselfish player in the game.
3rd down and 12. And Randall loses the football, but there to cover up is Broderick Thompson.
You're getting a feel right now of a defensive team that has played well for the Houston Oilers. They are very disruptive. Jeff Fisher has done a terrific job easing off the blitz from Buddy Ryan. Let's take a look now. Watch Herschel Walker with another block. That's a KO there.
That's Ray Childress that he flattens. But Kenny Davidson is the guy that makes it happen by slapping the ball out of Randall's hands.
A good defense on the part of the Oilers.
Now Brian Barker in his 2nd week as an Eagle. The former Kansas City Chief sends one down to Ernest Givens, who gets a block and then a 10-yard run back as he brings it back out to the 38 after a 48-yard punt. Houston has it for the first time in the game, 11:22 to go in the first quarter. Cody Carlson gets the start tonight. He was a question mark. He took about half the snaps this week, hasn't played in 3 weeks. Gary Brown is back after a month's absence. Jeffrey, Slaughter, and Givens, the wideouts. Carter, the tight end, in the modified run and shoot. Hopkins, Flannery, Matthews, Norgard, and Williams up front. Norgard starting for the injured Kevin Donnelly. And that offensive line has to do the job tonight. From the 39-yard line, here's Gary Brown. Back after missing a month with a twisted ankle. Takes it up to the 41-yard line. It's a gain of 2. Philly up front with Fuller, Harmon, Townsend, and Burt Grossman getting the start. Then 2 linebackers, Evans and Thomas, because of that modified run and shoot. 5 DBs, McMillan, Allen, the Pro Bowler, Miano, Zordich, and Greg Jackson, the former Giant, who's having a terrific season here.
Modified run and shoot. That means that they're playing a tight end. Whether they like it or not, they've got one out there.
It's the former Ram, Pat Carter, who's only caught 2 balls all season. 2nd down and 8 from the 41-yard line. The play clock all the way down to 2 as Carlson takes the snap, throws, and the catch is made as Webster Slaughter picks up the first down, taking it to the Eagle 43-yard line. ABC's Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Bud Light. If you want great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. Pennzoil, the motor oil that works like liquid ball bearings. And Pontiac and your local Pontiac dealer, we are driving excitement.
2 plays, and Cody Carlson has changed both of them. That time he picked up the man-for-man coverage over on the Eagles' right side, and he was right on and got the completion of the first down.
You saw Bud Carson, the Eagle defensive coordinator, his unit right now, working against the Oilers on a 1st and 10. And Gary Brown, who grew up in Pennsylvania in the town of Williamsport, takes it to the 35-yard line. So a homecoming of sorts for Gary Brown, who really came on last year when Lorenzo White got hurt.
And whose loss the last couple of weeks with that sprained ankle has really been felt by the Oilers. Brown, a good all-around back, but you need the big back in the run and shoot offense. If you're going to do this single back, he has got to be a big man. Brown is that, almost 235 pounds, but really nice quickness for that size.
Second and a long one. And here is Gary Brown, who can't get out of the backfield. Great play by Andy Harmon, beginning to emerge as one of the top defensive linemen in the league.
Oh, he's a worker, Dan. Richie Kotite raised when he talks about Andy Harmon. He is the less publicized of all these defensive linemen, and certainly the ones that are gone. Speaking, of course, of the great ones that have been part of this team, but he is a worker, a plugger. He will scramble, he'll fight, he'll bite you, he'll do anything to get to the ball.
And he's really playing with a handicap, Frank. See that cast on his right arm? Look at that bad thumb. Very reminiscent of what we saw with Neil Smith. He dislocated that thumb, and he's got that soft cast.
He's got pins in that.
Yeah, that thing really hurts against the running game. You can't grab. Didn't seem to hurt him there.
It's third down and 5, and Cody Carlson to an open Ernest Gibbons. He's inside the 10. It'll be first and goal. Greg Jackson with the tackle.
Ooh, somehow Greg Jackson got himself tied up with Ernest Gibbons, and that is not a good matchup. Well, defensively, not the matchup you want. Gibbons are going against the strong safety, or the free safety, Greg Jackson. Jackson, not a good man coverage.
There's another matchup up front, Frank, that isn't working right now for Philadelphia, and that's attempting to come after Carlson with only 4 guys. I thought they would blitz him a little bit more early. They're coming with 4. They're not getting there, and if you've got a banged-up quarterback, you're giving him a lot of time, he's going to complete those passes. I think they're going to have to blitz if they want to damage Carlson.
First and goal from just inside the 9. Brown runs into his own man, and then Harmon knocks him down along with Townsend. It was Townsend who really forced the issue that time. As he came across the line, Brown runs into his own guy, and they're all the way back at the 16.
Townsend gored Brad Hopkins, the left tackle, and only drove him about 5 yards into the backfield. It's going to be coming at us. Hopkins is 72. There's Townsend, 93. That's not an effective block.
The Oilers all of a sudden find themselves moving backward. You got to watch Jeffrey Fires down, or Haywood Jeffries down here. Jeff Fires, as some people like to call him. He's the big man.
Second and goal at the 16, and Carlson throws, and the catch is made by Haywood Jeffries, the aforementioned one, taking it to the 3-yard line. It'll be third down and goal.
He's about the only big receiver on this team, and when you get down in this area, you need a big one. And a good read by Carlson. Jeffries breaking underneath, a little drive upfield. You got to respect him going to the corner. That's what he likes to do. This time he brings it across, gets the completion. Third down, working against Eric Allen, one of the better defensive cornerbacks in the league, that Jeffries was open.
Kevin Gilbride calling the play. Third and goal, 6.5 to go in the first quarter with no score. This is the 8th play of the drive. The play fake, the throw is too high, intended for Gibbons. He was covered on the play by Mark McMillan. The Oilers bogged down, and they'll settle for a Del Greco field goal attempt. And Jack Pardee has to be a little frustrated here, as they had moved the ball to a first and goal and have to settle for a 3-point effort.
Well, this used to be their problem a couple of years ago, and everybody complained about this offense. You get inside the 5, you can't get it into the end zone. They've been going pretty much with a tight end tonight, and they're still not getting it in. A break for Philadelphia, and I say a break because you're right. They're not getting any pressure at all on Carlson.
Well, if that pass was a little lower, I think Evans blocks it. If it's a little high, like he had to throw it, it's an incompletion.
It's a 21-yard field goal for Del Greco. It's the first time the Eagles this season have given up any points on the opening drive of a game. 6:28 to go in the first. 3-0. The Oilers have a rare lead, as they have been outscored in the first half thus far this season, 91-30.
And I think through the first 3 quarters, it's like 111-30. It's a bunch. It's embarrassing how bad it is.
Del Greco to kick off. Seidner and Hebron back to receive. Hebron from the 12-yard line, and he gives the ball to Seidner. the other way. And he takes it out to the 28-yard line. A little razzle-dazzle, but the Oilers are there with the coverage. And let's get our first report from the sidelines in Lynn Swan.
Thank you, Al. If Herschel Walker looks a little different to you, it's because he's wearing a different set of shoulder pads. He's got about 4. He's wearing his very lightest pair. Herschel has had chronic shoulder problems ever since he left Georgia, where he dislocated his shoulder, didn't want to have it operated on until his second year in the USFL. It's always bothered him off and on. He said right now it's feeling extraordinarily strong. He's looking ready to play and use that shoulder in tonight's ball game. Al?
Last week they used him exclusively as a receiver. He did not carry the ball at all as Garner picks up maybe a yard or a fraction thereof up to the 28-yard line. Lane Bishop in on the tackle. And
somebody's hurt. And probably
Louis Thompson looked over toward the sideline. Somebody's shaken up.
Yeah, the players hear it. Somebody is at the bottom of that pile.
Mark Bavaro looked like he was one of the guys caught in a really tough spot. It looked like somebody was on his legs and he was being pushed over backwards. It's what the Eagles were reacting to because one of the Oilers. All right, here's number 84. Yeah, right there. He's got his legs pinned underneath him, and look at that.
He got himself in a bad spot. He got out of it.
Boy, not only did he get out of it, he's staying in the game.
Yeah.
Well, nobody ever accused Mark Bavaro of not being a tough guy.
2nd and 9. Cunningham over the middle, and the catch is made up at the 28-yard line. Calvin Williams hauling it in for a minimal gain.
Oh, and Al Smith's starting to get a little fired up. He's on top of Williams, and then he starts talking to Bernard Williams.
Well, you can almost
kind of
feel
this is headed.
The frustration of this Houston Oilers team all the way up here. You're going to see a lot of that tonight, yakking and pushing and shoving, and it's been a major embarrassment for them. We look at the defensive coordinator, Jeff Fisher, who used to be here with Buddy Ryan and still believes in a lot of Buddy Ryan's tactics, and that means blitz and more blitz.
And they better yak, and they better push, and they better shove, or it shows a lack of heart that's terminal.
3rd down and 3, and Cunningham with the blitz, and down he goes. Steve Jackson, the cornerback, and the Oilers love to come in bunches, and it pays off again for them.
Well, the minute the back to that side went in motion, you know that Cunningham lost his protection. Walker goes in motion coming towards us. That leaves a clean alley for Jackson. There's no way that Anton Davis can get all the way out of there. That formation in motion by Philadelphia, tailor-made for that blitz.
Brian Barker to punt. Ernest Gibbons collects it at the 32-yard line and is tackled right there. Nice play by Britt Hager after a 43-yard punt. 4:24 to go in the first. 3-0 Oilers. That's tomorrow night's lineup, highlighted by Tim Allen in Home Improvement, Brett Butler and Grace Under Fire. The Tuesday lineup, and then Wednesday, Thunder Alley, All-American girl Roseanne Ellen, and the Blame Game, an ABC News special Wednesday night in primetime right here on ABC.
Well, the Eagles didn't blitz Carlson the first time the Oilers had the ball. Let's see if they let Carson change his strategy this time around.
Houston 3, Philadelphia nothing, and flinching on the left side.
That wasn't a flinch. John Flannery does a full-blown setup.
Offense, number 55. Prior to the snap,
it's the little jerky on the left side.
First down.
303-pound jerk.
You can't miss this.
Nope. There it is.
A 300-pound jerk?
Jerky. Jerky. Believe me, I wouldn't.
I'm sure Big John has a VCR, Frank.
I'm also sure we got to go down to Houston, too. Just a little jerky on the left side.
Oh, okay.
1st and 15, and Gary Brown up past the 35 and is rolled down at the 40-yard line by Mark McMillan. Gain of 12.
Well, it's the dimension that Brown brings. But boy, what a well-blocked play up front by the Houston Oilers. This offensive line has been getting pounded in the press. They've been getting pounded by the opponent's defensive lines, giving up a whole bunch of sacks, but they have started this game on a very strong note. As to whether it lasts or not, we're not sure, but it's a good start by the offensive unit of the Houston Oilers.
2nd and 3 at the 40-yard line, and it's Brown again. Stopped after a gain of just 1 up at the 41-yard line. Andy Harmon is there. It'll set up a 3rd and 2 for the Oilers, who next week go to L.A. to take on the Raiders. And there's a look at Bob Young, Dan's great pal.
Yeah, he's the offensive line coach of the Oilers, and you know, it's a different makeup on this team. The great Mike Munchak retires. Doug Dawson, their other starting guard, moves on. He's playing for the Cleveland Browns, so a big change in the middle. Brad Hopkins is just trying to get established at left tackle. The jury still out as to whether he'll ever evolve into a great one. It's a real transition in Houston.
Third and a short 2 from the 41-yard line, and Brown tries to pick it up, and Gary Brown is stopped at the 42-yard line. Greg Jackson, the first guy to hit him, and the Eagles have forced an Oiler punt. 2:45 remaining in the first quarter.
There seldom will be a lot in the middle when William Perry is anywhere in the vicinity.
Tough place to run. Brown, of course, been out for a couple of games. I talked to him before the game. He said, I missed that last Monday against Pittsburgh. I'm not going to miss this one. But you have to wonder if he's 100%.
I like the fridge being in there on a punt return. Must be his great ability to get 40 yards downfield and make a block to spring the ball carrier, huh?
Here's Rich Camarillo. And it is fielded at the 5-yard line by Seidner. And it's normally an ill-advised play, but he does run it out past the 20 to the 22-yard line.
Now here's what you do on a punt return. You block your guy and then you sprint all the way downfield and you get a crushing block. William Perry, boy, he covers a lot of territory on this one. Well, if I stay here, sooner or later it'll get here.
Goodyear Blimp Spirit from Akron has come in to provide these scenics. Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. We just saw a 53-yard Rich Camarillo punt and a 17-yard run back by Jeff Seidner. Total yards in the game thus far, 72 for the Oilers and just 9 for the Eagles, minus 11 in passing.
Minus is only good in golf.
Yeah. Eagles down 3-0. They have it at the 22-yard line. Cunningham throws. Barnett makes the catch. And Arkansas Fred is ridden out of bounds up at the 32-yard line, very close to a first down. Chris Dishman with the coverage.
Boy, talk about a guy who wants to get back into the swing of things. It's Fred Barnett. Really feels that he's been underutilized. Even doesn't, thinks that Randall doesn't look at him as much as he should. This man has speed. This guy has hands. He has instincts. We've already documented how he's battled back from a terrible knee injury. This is a guy, I think, Frank, ready to explode.
Randall also got used to going to Calvin Williams a year ago when Barnett was out for those 12 games, and get a little rhythm with the receiver, and didn't work that much in training camp, and every time he comes out on the field, he's playing a little better. You have to admire just coming back from the full knee reconstruction in that position of wide receiver. It's quite an achievement.
I guess Lester Holmes, the starting right guard of the Eagles, has gone to their locker room to have x-rays taken of his right hand. Joe Panos is in the lineup now, taking his place, the rookie from Wisconsin. So a step up here for the rookie.
First down, Philadelphia from the 32-yard line. They ride Lathan out of the play on the left side, and then Cunningham looks for Williams, who looks for a flag and doesn't get one. Second down. Rich Kotite took over after Buddy Ryan was fired following the 1990 season. So Rich, his team is now 4-2. And he's a guy who has his backers and his detractors, and what he also has is a new owner as well, Jeffrey Lurie, who has purchased the team. But so far, so good. First down from the 32-yard line, and there's a whistle before the snap. Gary Lane, the referee. Lane, a former backup quarterback with the Giants and the Lions.
False start. Offense. Number 78. Prior to the snap, 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
Anton Davis. Giants and Browns for Gary Lane, a backup quarterback. And there another look at Andy Harmon. Since 91, and that's the year Richie Kotite took over. Here's a guy who takes as much heat as any coach in the league, and yet the Eagles have the 6th best record of the 28 teams since
Oh, yeah.
Been here and been able to stay on top. I think he's done a superb job, and I can tell you for sure he is respected all around the league.
How about the number of those games without this guy?
Second down and 15, and the catch is made by Mark Bavaro. Tackled at the 41-yard line, a little short of the first down. It's a 14-yard pickup.
One of those rare times that the Eagles go to the tight end. Mark Bavaro used to be in big numbers with the Giants and later with Cleveland and even here, but he has been primarily a blocker, and he doesn't complain about much of anything. He doesn't talk very much, but you get the sense that he would like to be used this way much more by the Eagles. But they got the two outside receivers, and that's where Randall likes to go.
After the knee surgery that he had, I never would have guessed that Mark Bavaro would still be playing this game today.
Third down and 1 from the 41-yard line, and Charlie Garner tunnels his way out to the 45-yard line, and an Eagle first down, and there is the new owner of the team. Jeffrey Lurie will chat with him at halftime along with Harry Gamble. Lurie buying the team for the princely sum of $185 million. And that is a princely sum.
That's
a king's ransom.
Higher
Downtown Philadelphia.
Higher than my credit card limit.
First down at the 45.
Which he says, I'm going to throw on first down. He has done it a couple times, but he's not been consistent with it.
Cunningham. Throwing and incomplete. Calvin Williams trying to make the catch over his shoulder.
Good positioning there by Darrell Lewis. Darrell Lewis gets a lot of attention because on the other side, Chris Dishman is one of the fine man defensive backs in the league, and Darrell Lewis is emerging as a very fine defensive back. That's Chris Dishman, who had a remarkable record. 9 interceptions the last 15 games for Dishman. Kind of guy you want to stay away from. And he's adapted to the new rules better than people thought he would, better than I thought he would. He used to be a very physical player. He can't do that anymore.
Second and 10. Cunningham firing. It's tipped, and it is almost picked off at the 50-yard line by Blaine Bishop.
Oh, boy. Bishop had it.
And a flag is down, and the penalty is going against the Eagles.
Well, this penalty would have been negated and turned down because Bishop had that ball all the way. Actually had it twice and then lost it, looked like, when he got down and hit the ground. Ray Childress asking his sideline for a little help as to whether to accept this penalty or not.
Bishop played well, replacing Bubba McDowell several weeks ago. And as Dan pointed out, he had it a couple of times and just couldn't quite hold on to it when he crashed to the surface there.
That was a second down and 10.
Holding. Offense. Number 74. 10-yard penalty. Remains second down.
It would have brought up 3rd and 10.
Mm-hmm. They opt for 2nd and 20.
I think you trade a down for 10 yards.
I agree with you.
If it's 5 yards, I think you bring up a 3rd and 10 rather than 2nd 15. There you take a look at Bernard Williams. Not a stat that you really dream about having affixed to your name.
Well, he leads the league in penalties and individual penalties. That's the 10th time he's been flagged. And we've got another flag here.
I don't think that was, if there was any consolation, it wasn't Williams.
False start. Offense. Number 76 prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
That's his counterpart at right tackle, Broderick Thompson. And we're having a tough time closing out this first quarter.
It's a lot of pressure on the defensive linemen. This 46 defense that they often line up, that was just movement by Kenny Davidson, and it brought Thompson out of his stance.
But there's no excuse for that here at home. The crowd noise isn't a factor. You're playing in your own house.
It is 2nd and 25. And Cunningham going deep. He hits Barnett. And Barnett has the ball taken away at the 17 by Chris Dishman. And the first quarter ends on a wild play.
It's not over yet.
Takes it back to the 48-yard line.
Oh, my gosh.
What a great play by Dishman. What a great read by Randall Cunningham. a perfect pass, and we talked about Dishman, one of the best there is in the business. He took the risk of giving up a touchdown here as he goes in and goes for the ball instead of the tackle, and he pulls it off.
End of the first. Monday Night Football back with the second quarter after this message and a word from our ABC station. Start the second quarter after a bizarre ending to the first quarter. Houston on top 3-0. Barnett with the catch, and then Dishman with the strip, and it was very reminiscent of a play that took place yesterday in the game between the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions involving Chris Gedney and Chris Spielman. First down, Houston from the 46-yard line. Cody Carlson rolling, buying time, and then throws it away, incomplete. It'll be second down and 10. Let's take a look at the strip that took place here.
First of all, it was a great call by Cunningham and a great delivery of the ball, and Lewis missed the tackle, and Dishman didn't even think about the tackle. He went right for the ball, and the risk there, of course, if you don't get the football, Barnett's going to be in for 6.
And here it was yesterday. Kramer throwing to Gedney. Now watch Spielman come in, number 54. He strips it and runs it back in for a touchdown.
I think Frank's point is valid, though. Spielman stole the ball while Gedney was being tackled. If Dishman doesn't come away with that football, Fred Barnett gallops into the end zone for a touchdown. Big risk.
Second and 10. Carlson has it tipped. It's incomplete. Byron Evans got a hand on it, the linebacker.
Well, I'll tell you, Byron Evans is having a great year, another year. He's in there on the nickel. He's in there in any kind of defense. He's tough against the run. He gets very deep on this. Good technique, getting back, looking into the eyes of the quarterback, Cody Carlson. Slaughter thought he was open, but Evans went up, got a hand on it. We saw him earlier saving a touchdown in the end zone on a shot that looked like Carlson could get it to Gibbons, and Evans was right up there making him throw it high.
Third down and 10 at the 46-yard line. Carlson out of the shotgun, and then he calls a timeout after taking a look at the Eagle defensive alignment. So 10 seconds into the second quarter, the Oilers leading 3-0. Downtown Philadelphia, as Veterans Stadium is the site of tonight's game in South Philly. The Philadelphia Eagles with a mark of 4-2 and trailing 3-0 to the 1-5 Houston Oilers early in the second quarter.
The Eagles showed blitz the last time Cody Carlson brought the Oilers up to the line of scrimmage. He didn't like the look and took the timeout. We'll see what Bud Carson does with it now. They got 4 defensive linemen in the game, 1 linebacker and Byron Evans, and 6 defensive backs. Oilers go to their 4 receiver spread, 1 back, and we'll see what Bud has in store for Cody, but they haven't really blitzed him yet.
Third and 10 from the 46-yard line. It's a 4-man rush, still no blitz. He throws, the catch is made by Slaughter, and then he gets tackled by a quartet of Eagles at the 50-yard line.
Dan mentioned 6 DBs. Remember 91, we were in Houston, a crippled up Eagle team came down there, and Bud Carson absolutely won that game defensively for them, playing much like they're playing now, playing underneath with a couple of hard-hitting safety men in the deep position, and when they caught the football, they came up and they really got ripped. And to do it, you have to swarm like this, and that's what they did that night, and that's what they're trying to do tonight.
Yeah, but they're asking the impossible of Webster Slaughter to catch a 5-yard pass pinned against the sideline against 6 DBs and expect to run for the yardage necessary to get the first down. They'll give that look, and they'll give that pass every time to Houston.
Rich Camarillo punting from midfield. Jeff Seidner is back to receive it. He calls for a fair catch and makes it at the 17-yard line. Eagles take it at that spot. 14-18 to go in the first half. Houston 3, Philadelphia 0. In Philadelphia, Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, and Dan Dierdorf. Lynn Swann working the sidelines. Eagles have it at their own 18-yard line. Houston leading 3-0. 42 seconds into the second quarter. Walker in motion. Garner, the Tennessee rookie, with a little straight arm action and then steps out of bounds. Funny thing about Garner, he plays at Tennessee, but Heath Schuler gets most of the publicity, and Charlie is the one who's emerged right now. ABC's Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Coca-Cola Classic, the official soft drink of the NFL. Eagle, test drive an Eagle Vision at your local Eagle dealer. And Bud Light, if you want great taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down, make it a Bud Light. So Charlie Garner emerging, Heath Schuler meanwhile on the bench, and Gus Frerotte came off the bench yesterday, and what a performance he turned in, the rookie from Tulsa, to lead Washington to its victory over Indianapolis. 2nd and 6, here's Garner. Minimal gain, it'll set up a 3rd down at about 5 at the 22.
The thing about Charlie Garner, he was designed for this kind of a defense. You get a 46, which basically is an 8-man front. If you can pop through there, somebody like a Charlie Garner, you're going to get some big yardage. You're going to go a long way. He comes out now because, as I mentioned earlier, he's not going to be in there on a pass play. He's not big in the patterns, and he's not good at picking up the blitz. So he'll be on the sidelines in this passing situation.
I think that graphic, a good illustration of his explosiveness.
3rd and a long 5 from the 22. Randall gets sacked. Back at the 15-yard line, Lamar Lathan, the first guy to make contact with him.
Well, he's been a fine experiment that proved successful for Houston, moving from a linebacker to defensive right end. Not all that big at 250, but really quick.
The education of Bernard Williams continues there at left tackle, number 74. He bites on just a little inside feint by Lamar Lathan, and then Lamar with that speed goes back outside. Williams can't recover.
Brian Barker. Taken by one of the up men at the 44-yard line. That's Chris Dishman who goes back to field it, and he's able to hold on before he's tackled at the 44. Houston has it at that spot when we come
back. This was really fortunate for the Houston Oilers. This ball hits Chris Dishman, number 28. You see it come right off his chest. Otis Smith has it, and then Dishman takes it away from it. That was a very fortunate break for the Houston Oilers, that ball came back in a position where Dishman could wrestle it away again from Otis Smith. Boy, we've seen some strange wrestling with the pigskin in the start of this ballgame tonight.
Dishman in the middle of all of the action again. Here's a draw. Brown swings to the outside, and William Thomas rides him out of bounds after a 2-yard pickup.
Only 2 yards on that. And Thomas got caught inside, but he has great recovery. Not all that big, 218 pounds, but he is so swift. And I think Gary Brown thought he was going to get to the outside, but you won't do that against William Thomas. Watch this. Thomas, the linebacker over on the right side. He just seems to make things happen for Philadelphia. That's a fine play.
2nd and 8, Oilers at the 45. 12 and a half to go in the first half. Houston on top, 3-0. On a chip shot field goal by Al Del Greco. And Carlson's pass is high, intended for Webster Slaughter. Set up a 3rd and 8. Next Monday, Halloween, and we go to Chicago. Our annual visit to Soldier Field. Coming up as the Bears host the Green Bay Packers, NFC Central Division rivals, the Packers and Bears, from Soldier Field a week from tonight.
You watch Reggie White Thursday night.
Oh,
he is awesome.
You think there'll be anybody dressed up in the stands? I think we might see a few crazies at that game.
I'm carrying my pumpkin.
3rd down and 8, and Carlson lofts it going deep and incomplete. Intended for Pat Coleman, who's their go-to guy on 3rd down, but Rich Miano's sticking right with him.
Well, the Eagles came with the blitz. Derek Frazier, number 23, came from the bottom, and it was picked up by the Eagles. So we knew, Cody Carlson knew, and Kevin Gilbride knew that they had the man coverage out there, the one-on-one. Cody just laid the ball out there a little too far.
Jeff Seidner back to accept the kick. Rich Camarillo in his 14th year in the league. Owns a Super Bowl ring. Played in the Super Bowl with New England after the 85 season. Angles it. Seidner fields it at the 11-yard line, and the slithery one brings it back out to the 17. It was a 44-yard kick and a 6-yard return. 12 minutes to go in the first half. Oilers 3, Eagles 0. Sunday on ABC, Sudafed Skate America International featuring Michelle Kwan, the Tour Championship, the final round coming your way live this Sunday on ABC. Philadelphia trailing 3-0. They've been sputtering and staggering offensively. First down from the 18. Cunningham throws and hits Bavaro over the middle, and the tight end makes his second catch of the night. A flag comes in at the end of the play as he takes it out to the 33-yard line.
Flag coming in very late, and again Bavaro with a deep turn-in look for Randall Cunningham. They gave Cunningham protection. Bavaro worked his way open. There's a good look at it too.
Illegal contact, defense, number 23, penalties decline, first down.
Bishop in there illegally, but naturally they'll decline it. They'll pick up the first down.
Yeah, I could see why a guy'd want to have a little illegal contact on Bavaro. As big and as strong as he is, for a guy who weighs under 200 pounds, trying to tackle this guy downfield, you can see that contact well after they've traveled 5 yards playing Bishop. It didn't even phase Bavaro. Marcus Robertson finally in on it, but too late.
Gain of 15, first down, and Bavaro again, his new favorite target, up to the 42-yard line, a little short of the first down.
Markman only had 9 receptions coming into tonight's game, and I was talking to him earlier about he says as much as he would ever say about anything, and I don't do much around here. Two good outside receivers, but you knew he was unhappy with the number of receptions. And now, twice in a row, they go to him, get the first down. He has a knack of moving off a defender. They should be playing him very close, but he's able to slide with that big body and get free.
A little shy of the first down. Second down and a long one up at the 42. Garner, nothing is there. Nice play by Lathan, fighting off Bernard Williams and making the tackle back of the line of scrimmage. Zeke Bratkowski.
Interesting combination they've worked out here. Actually, the calls are made by Richie Kotite. Let's take a look at Al Smith. Tough against the run. Tough against Herschel Walker, and takes Walker out of that run play, and the rest of the defense closes down Charlie Garner.
3rd and 4 at the 39. 10-10 to go in the half. Oilers on top 3-0. Good protection for Randall, then he throws, and the catch is made at the Houston 45-yard line for a first down into the arms of Arkansas Fred Barnett.
Well, you certainly can't say anything about the way Randall Cunningham is throwing the football tonight except exceptional. He's had
good coverage.
He's had 2 long plays that have been negated because of fumbles and penalties. But when he is throwing the ball downfield like this toss here to Fred Barnett, look at the placement of the football. Just absolutely perfect.
Good coverage by Robertson. He was in position. That ball was perfectly thrown.
Away to the outside, elevated, just absolutely perfect.
Eagles at the 45-yard line. Again, good protection. The catch is made by Calvin Williams. Inside the 20, inside the 10, run out of bounds at the 7.
And again, we're going at it downfield. Calvin Williams, Marcus Robertson over on the sidelines. Randall Cunningham has a confidence that he hasn't had before in an offensive line, knowing that they will give him a good, solid look at the field. Under no pressure whatsoever, sidearms the ball. But again, Frank, we talked about the placement of the football. That throw to Williams, perfectly placed.
Well, Williams was covered, and he kept it alive for Cunningham, and you're right, he drilled it right in there, but Calvin Williams turned into a superb receiver a year ago when Barnett was down. He became very reliable a year ago, and that time he was covered well, broke to the inside, saw that he was covered, broke it to the outside, and Cunningham knew that he was going to be there. All the confidence in the world in him, and he delivered it.
37-yard gain, first and goal. The Eagles with their deepest penetration. Williams was the man in motion. Cunningham looks that way, then throws it out of the end zone. Second and goal.
Well, that ball didn't float on Randall. He just threw that one away. He dumped that baby where nobody could get it. And that's a smart play by a veteran quarterback. It's first down. You're at the 7-yard line. Don't force it. Don't force it. Don't do anything foolish. You got a couple more whacks at it.
It's hard to say the unique way that the Eagles call the plays. Richie Kotite, the head coach, calls the plays. He gives them to the offensive coordinator, Zeke Bratkowski. He calls the play. There's Bratkowski on the left, Kotite on the right. Bratkowski is actually calling the play to Cunningham. And I think a little slowly this time.
Yep. Too slowly. The Eagles are forced to take their
it doesn't work too
time
well.
out of the half. 8:43 to the half.
Well, here's the situation. 2nd and goal, 7-yard line. The double threat comes into play, and Jeff Fisher there, the defensive coordinator of the Oilers, knows it. This is where Randall Cunningham can hand it to somebody. He can throw it, and we all know what else he can do with it. He can take it himself and turn some acrobatics into a touchdown.
2nd and goal from the 7. 8:43 remaining in the first half. Oilers leading 3-0. Here come the Oilers. There goes Randall. It's an incomplete pass. His arm was coming forward. Blaine Bishop on the safety blitz. And Montgomery can slow down. He's not going anywhere.
There's nobody that Fisher didn't send on that blitz.
Not enough Philadelphia bodies to account for him. And give that to Randall Cunningham. He saved the loss, saved the fumble. He knew he had no way of throwing the football, yet he got that arm in motion. The veteran quarterbacks will do this. He sensed it right there. He makes it look like he's got the arm in motion. And very close. It's close enough that he gets the call. Is a hand moving? They say it is.
That was a fumble. That was a fumble.
Yep,
I don't believe it.
out.
I don't believe it started forward yet. No.
Timeout, Houston. That is their second charge team timeout.
It's 3rd down and goal, and you heard Gary Lane calling a timeout charge to the Oilers, their second. So each team has just one remaining with a lot of time to the half. 8:40.
I think what saved Randall and the Eagles there was that he gave the body motion that looked like he was going to throw a pass. The body motion, even though he was going backwards, the turning, the pivoting of at the waist was making it look like he was throwing the football.
What saved him was the official didn't see it in slow motion.
And the official, he's standing behind him. He's looking at it from behind.
Right here is the wind up, and that's really, I think, what saved it. That gives the illustration and the look that he's going to go forward with the ball. Pretty tough to see, split second, whether or not that hand is moving forward when the ball separates from the hand. That's a virtual impossibility for a referee to see it like that.
Well, even in the old days, in the replay days, it would be the same result because the whistle would have ended the play.
That's exactly right. The inadvertent whistle.
Yes. 3rd and goal from the 7. Victor Bailey is in motion. The play fake to buy a little time. He swings it out to Garner. And Garner is tackled at the 1-yard line. Marcus Robertson along with Eddie Robinson.
Oh, listen to the crowd.
Knock him down. The crowd wants the Eagles to go for it.
And they are going to. I'll tell you, Charlie Garner is almost genetically constructed to play on artificial surface. He is so quick. This is a design play. We have a lead block. That's Broderick Thompson with a pull groin out in front. He gets his block. Garner tries to duck it into the end zone. Out that great speed and a good defensive play.
I'll tell you something, guys. This is Richie Kotite's newfound belief in this offensive line. This wouldn't have happened a couple years ago.
4th and goal, and the play clock down to 2, and the play fake, and Cunningham throws, and it's incomplete. Good coverage by the secondary. Bishop stayed back, stayed with his man, and they give it up at the 1-yard line.
Well, maybe he doesn't believe in him that much. He puts it in the air, surprisingly.
They had Brian O'Neill in the game, a rookie from Penn State, and he was the intended receiver.
Well, you got 2 big backs, James Joseph and Herschel Walker, on your roster. A huge offensive line that is much bigger than their Oiler counterparts. Yet they put the ball in the air just off the fingertips. Just off the fingertips of O'Neill.
Boy, and Mike Teeter was the one that saved that for the Oilers.
So Houston at the 1-yard line.
Teeter just could not let that receiver get inside.
8:06 to go. First half.
Here comes the blitz.
And it's Gary Brown to give them breathing room. Out to the 7. It's a gain of 6. He's tackled by Mark McMillan. Bud Carson. Remember, Bud was the head coach for a couple of years with the Cleveland Browns.
He's as good as they come as a defensive coordinator. You think of the great ones over the years, Bill Arnsparger of San Diego, and right there with him is this guy, Bud Carson. Did wonders with the Steelers, with the defensive coordinator for a couple of Super Bowls, with the Rams, with the Jets, and has done wonders here in Philadelphia.
You know you're a good coach when your name goes on the young coaches, when it goes on his list of guys he works for. When it's on his resume that I tutored under Bud Carson, then you know you've made it. And Carson's made it.
Kevin Gilbride very upset because Houston has burned its last timeout. So the Oilers have taken all of their timeouts. The Eagles have taken 2 of their timeouts, and we still have 7:22 remaining in the first half.
Are you trying to intimate that that's not very good clock management by both of these clubs?
I don't think Mr. Gilbride is real happy about it.
No. It's interesting. We got a run and shoot offense, and we have Randall Cunningham. Mr. Offense himself, and we have 3 points on the board in a quarter and a half. Well played defensively, I would say. Huh?
Yes. Aided by some big plays that keep getting called back, or guys who have the ball taken away from them.
Team starting the season 1-5, as is the case right now with the Oilers after winning 12 the previous year. The Giants in '87, that was the strike year, and you saw Detroit. It's a beautiful night here in Philadelphia.
Great
working in shirt sleeves, 60 degrees.
You are.
Some of us are.
How's your tooth, Dan? Dan was a little late getting here. He had to have a tooth put back in that broken jaw from years ago.
No, I know. I was in the old dental chair at 7 o'clock this morning. Thanks, Doxy.
2nd and 4 from the 7. You're still going to get the bill.
I know.
And it's Brown out to the...
Bob Young was telling me how that happened. Matt Blair, you just gave up on the play. There was interception. Matt Blair of the Vikings came down, put a helmet right in your chops.
1977, that was.
At what time you
May
recall?
you never have your jaws wired shut. That's the only thing I can say. 6 weeks with no food. 55 pounds.
That's what I lost. 55?
Yeah. And it was during the course of the season. I kept playing, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Thanks for reminding me.
3rd and 1 from the 10-yard line. 6:40 to go in the half. And Brown again, and he has a first down out to the 13-yard line. And what a difference Gary Brown makes. Kevin Gilbride getting his ace running back, and Brown last year taking over for White. 1,000-yard year, playing a little bit more than half the season.
About 8 games. He had nothing going into that 8th game, and he had 1,002 yards. We played some man, Lorenzo White, who the previous year had 1,200 yards, but in this run and shoot offense, a guy like Gary Brown, we touched on it earlier, is so important. Well, we're seeing a lot of tight end tonight. There it is right now for Houston.
From the 13-yard line. Carlson flings one. It's intercepted at the 31 by Eric Allen, who ran 4 back for touchdowns last season. Eric inside the 20, tackled at the 14.
He wanted to take that into the end zone so bad. 9 interceptions a year ago, 6 interceptions, 4 of them, as Al said, returned for a touchdown. That tied an NFL record. Struggled a little bit, however, defensively at the corner thus far this year for the Eagles.
Well, he reads this all the way. He's locked up in man coverage, and Cody Carlson is looking that side of the field the entire time. Eric Allen makes his break way before the receiver even does. Haywood Jeffries, by the time he makes his break, is looking at the back of Eric Allen, who's already broken on the football. Allen looked more like the receiver than Jeffries did.
Eagles at the 14. Here's Garner behind Walker, taking it down to the 8-yard line.
He is so swift. He plants that outside foot, makes the move, and he just explodes.
Used to be in the old days that rule number 1, after an interception, somebody took off after the quarterback. It was a free shot on the quarterback, and there it comes. Everybody jumps in line. Leonard Renfro comes over and goes whack.
And Cody has been whacked enough this season with that separated left shoulder and a knee injury coming into the game. Here's Garner pounding his way down to the 6. It'll be 3rd down and 2 with 5 minutes to go in the half, and the Oilers on top 3-0. Carlson, he was a game-time decision. Jack Pardee waited until an hour before the game, and there's Billy Joe Tolliver, who is the new number 2 guy. Bucky Richardson, who had been the starting quarterback, is now the extra QB tonight.
Keep in mind with Carlson, though, it's his left shoulder that has been the problem, not his throwing shoulder. It's his non-throwing shoulder.
3rd and 1, and Garner has the first down, takes it to the 1-yard line. Tackled by Marcus Robertson.
Oilers had to know it was going to be run. Garner stayed in that offensive backfield. They've been taking him out anytime they're going to throw the football.
Boy, this is an indication how far things come. They're in the I formation with Herschel Walker at the fullback. Maybe one of the most famous I tailbacks of all time in the I formation, now playing fullback.
And one of the best blocking backs you could have there.
Now they have Joseph as the blocking back. Garner as the tailback. They send O'Neal in motion, and they run it to that side. Touchdown, Garner.
Well, he explodes. 181 pounds.
Well, Richie Kotite's Eagles, a prohibitive favorite coming into tonight's game, an 11-point favorite, finally takes the lead here at the 3:52 mark of the first half. Good, solid work up front. Look at the double team. Great work there on the left side by Bernard Williams, Antone Davis, Mark Bavaro. Really uncontested into the end zone for Charlie Garner.
Eddie Murray for the point after. Brian Barker to hold. Low snap. Nice job by Barker, and the kick is just inside the right upright. John Hudson was the snapper, so the interception is very costly for Carlson. Eric Allen with the pick. And then the Eagles, after being stopped on their previous effort at the 1-yard line on a 4th down play, cash in.
And they're warming up on the sidelines. It's not that cool tonight that you wouldn't be throwing the football if you weren't planning on a little action. Billy Joe Tolliver, who we thought might be going to start tonight, depending upon the condition of Cody Carlson. They didn't really decide until just before the game that Carlson would start.
Goodyear Blimp, Spirit of Akron, hovering above the Vet, home of the Eagles and the Philadelphia Phillies. Tim McCarver, a pal at the game tonight. He and Jim Palmer and I will be doing the 3rd game of the World Series tomorrow.
Timmy's had a lot of time off, haven't you, Timmy? Doing a lot of fishing, hanging around.
Talked a little baseball today. I had to fly in late. Lee Thomas was on the plane with me today, the general manager of the Philadelphia Phillies. Everyone in baseball just scratches their head. How could this have happened?
And hockey as well. Only game in town right here. Eddie Murray to kick off, sends a bouncing ball down to the 12-yard line. John Henry Mills brings it out past the 30 up to the 35.
Every time you say bouncing ball, I'm looking for Mitch Miller.
Follow the bouncing ball. Garner. Well, he's not particularly sartorially splendid, but on the stat sheet, he's got 6 points rung up.
Particularly sartorially
Don't ask me to repeat.
splendid.
That's right. It's enough syllables.
You do need some baseball.
Oh, boy.
Touchdown directly
You've got
attributed
some built-up
to
hormones you need to dispense, Al.
a pass that Cody Carlson would like to have had back. Fourth on ball picked up by Eric Allen.
Carlson is 4 of 10. The fake to Brown, that doesn't fool the Eagles, but he gets the pass away, and it's caught by Pat Carter. So the tight end makes his first reception of the game. It's a gain of 4. Zordich in on the tackle.
Been a long year for Cody. He went down in the first game with a damaged left shoulder. He came back in the 4th game, and the game we had against the Pittsburgh Steelers, he went out of that one re-injuring the shoulder and hurting a knee and tearing up his nose. And it's been a long year. Other than that, things have been kind of smooth for him.
Other than that, he was sartorially splendid.
He was. particularly. Second down and 6 from the 40-yard line. Brown to the 42. Now the Oilers have used all of their timeouts, so the only time they can stop the clock is at the 2-minute warning.
That hurts. That hurts. Those are timeouts you would very much like to have. And it's timeouts. Those are timeouts that are wasted just because there's a failure in communications. You see it more and more. Of course, the fewer seconds available to every team in the league now to run your plays, get them in. It's hurt everybody.
3rd and 4 up at the 42-yard line. Catch is made. Gibbons, and he escapes 2 would-be tackles and takes it all the way to the 19-yard line. Greg Jackson finally corrals him. Ernest Gibbons.
A strange defense on the part of the Eagles. It delayed blitz, and it left the Eagles in a man-for-man situation deep. Good read by Carlson. See, 56, Evans coming late. Gibbons with a good catch, a good run, gets it to the 20-yard line. Houston's threatening here late in the first half.
2-minute warning.
Watch this attempted tackle here on Ernest Gibbons by Derek Frazier. He comes away with his towel off the back. Frazier argued very loudly during that timeout that the ball should have been placed back at the 50-yard line, that Ernest Gibbons was down by the rules of the game that he thought he was playing. To no avail.
Flag football.
1st and 10 at the 20.
Carson, I'm sure not happy with that. A delayed blitz threw him into a man-for-man. Even then, the tackling was horrendous. Frazier had a good shot at him.
If he makes the tackle, it's a 5 or 6 yard gain.
2 minutes to the half. 7-3 Eagles. Oilers first down at the 20-yard line. Gary Brown bangs his way down to the 14-yard line. Again, the Oilers do not have a timeout.
Oilers not quite sure if they're going into it. They are going into a somewhat of a sugar huddle right up close to the line of scrimmage. Being pretty methodical about things here.
2nd down and 4.
Now they'll hurry.
Gary Brown taking it to the 10-yard line, and that's enough for a first down.
Good surge here by Gilbride's offensive team. 2 plays, pick up the first down. The clock continues to move, but a better offensive performance than I think the Eagles were expecting out of the Oilers.
1st and goal at the 9-yard line.
Yeah, they'd move more quickly out of the huddle, I think.
Here's Brown. He takes it to the 6-yard line.
They're doing this 4 and 5 yards at a clip, and they have time. 2 more of those. They'll be in the end zone now. Cody doesn't need to hurry all that much here.
He does, but the one thing he doesn't want to do is have to burn or burn it down by grounding it.
Right,
Second down and goal from the 7-yard line. Carlson throws, and it's a little high, incomplete, intended for Pat Coleman.
Oh, and the littlest man in the field with a fine defensive play, 5'7" Mark McMillan. Plays a lot bigger than that.
Boy, 3 running plays in a row. They're banging off about 5 yards a whack. I would have maybe been a little more up-tempo at the line of scrimmage, trying to run the play a little bit faster and kept it on the ground. They really had the Eagles back on their heels as far as the running game was concerned.
It is 3rd down and goal just inside the 7. 29 seconds remaining in the first half.
No tight end and 4 wide.
Carlson buys time. Looking, throwing, and it is incomplete. Again intended for Pat Coleman. And it's 4th down. They'll have to settle for a field goal attempt.
Well, it's got to be frustrating.
Well, I'll tell you, if Cody Carlson didn't have that knee banged up, he walks into the end zone on that particular play. Coverage was all at the back of the end zone. He knew that he couldn't. Had to throw the ball. Good defensive coverage on the part of the defensive secondary.
Andy Harmon, the guy there with the late pressure, puts Carlson on the ground. Ooh, and that was a nice play downfield.
25-yard field goal attempt for Del Greco. And he boots it through, so he has accounted for all of the Oilers scoring. And they draw to within 1 with 18 seconds now remaining in the first half.
Just wonder if Kevin Gilbride is thinking to himself, I wish I would have kept that ball on the ground. I know it's second guessing, but at the time it looked like they really had the Eagles rocked back on their heels, slamming it up in there. They get the first down on 2 running plays. They pick up almost 5 yards on the first down play. They had time to run the ball twice more.
Coming up at halftime, Brent Musburger with Gus Frerotte, the sudden star now in the nation's capital. A tremendous performance yesterday for the Redskins against Indianapolis. Peter King will be with Brent, and then Jeff Lurie, the new owner of the Eagles, a man who paid $185 million to get his kicks as the owner of a professional football team, will visit with us as well.
What a guy. What enthusiasm. Grew up in New England, was a big Giants fan over the years. And he just loves what he's doing right now.
He might have liked the Giants, but he loved the Patriots. In fact, he tried to buy. There he is. Jeff Lurie tried to buy the Patriots, but could not consummate the deal. And then he found out through John Shaw of the LA Rams that the Eagles were for sale. And so he looked into this opportunity and bought the team from Norman Brayman, and nobody has ever paid more for a professional sports franchise in North America.
We mentioned a couple of Eagles owners. Leonard Toews is at tonight's game. He hasn't been around for some time. Doing well.
Del Greco sends it down to the 11-yard line. Vaughn Hebron brings it back out to the 34 with 12 seconds remaining in the first half. So Randall will conceivably attempt to get the ball deep enough downfield for the Oilers or for the Eagles to attempt a field goal.
Yes, I think Jeff Fisher was aware of that too. Back up, back up. This is a guy that he can put a little air under the ball now. Well, the Eagles aren't. The Eagles are going to sit this one out, so to speak.
Randall takes a knee, and that is the end of the first half at Veterans Stadium. Eric Allen's interception, the big play, it sets up the only touchdown of the half. At the half, Philadelphia 7, Houston 6. Back with our halftime activities after this from our ABC station. And we start the second half. The Philadelphia Eagles with Eddie Murray to kick off, leading 7-6. Third quarter underway on a gorgeous fall night in Philadelphia. It's taken at the 10-yard line. Out past the 30, John Henry Mills brings it back out to the 39. And Carlson and the Oilers will take over at that spot after a 29-yard run back. And here are the numbers through the first 30 minutes of action.
Turnover for each team, but the Oilers turnover, the interception by Carlson, run back by Eric Allen that put them in good position, converted into a touchdown. Pretty much even all the way down the line. Nobody really running the ball all that effectively. Although Garner has had some pretty good bursts for the Eagles. Brown as well, but not a great deal of running on the ground. A lot of rushing. Not that there's a lot of running in the air, but
from the 39-yard line. Sometimes there's walking on it. Gary Brown for a gain of 2.
Randall Cunningham, the only guy in this game that does a lot of running in the air.
Gary Brown back in action, twisted his ankle against Cincinnati. Randall Cunningham awaiting his turn on the Eagle bench.
That game against Cincinnati, the only win by the Houston Oilers so far here in '94.
Second down and 8 from the 41-yard line on a delay. Gary Brown gets ridden down. Nice play by Byron Evans at the line of scrimmage.
Again, the Oilers on second and long, going with the tight end offense. Kind of a strange offense. It seems to me you commit to a run and shoot, go with it, or you don't. You change it totally, but they're trying to be a little bit of both. Consequently, they're not 100% of either.
Third down and 10. Oilers at their own 39. Early third quarter. Philadelphia leading 7-6. And he floats one to Gary Brown. Seeks the first down, gets it. Eric Allen takes him down at the 47 of Philadelphia.
Another good pass by Cody. That blitz was on part of the Eagles. He read it, laid it up right into the arms of Gary Brown. Real soft touch on that.
Well, Brown's unaccounted for on that blitz. The Eagles come with 6. Look at all the guys in the middle, and Brown is wide open. And that's the risk you run, and what you're counting on is to give up that first down yardage. You know that the quarterback has to make a good play, and that time Carlson made it.
At the 47-yard line. Cody throws, the catch is made, and that's Gary Wellman seeing his first action of the season, hurt during preseason action, and Gary Wellman, who has been on the inactive list, gets back in uniform and makes his first catch of the season.
A broken fibula, and it kept him out for a long time. All through training camp, they kept thinking he was going to come back. He just didn't quite come around. Came off the bench and became a starter a year ago. Another one of those smallish types. Got a lot of records out of USC. 5'9", at 175 pounds.
Didn't even make it to the preseason games. He broke it in a scrimmage against the Cowboys before the preseason schedule even started.
Second down and 7 at the 44-yard line. And Brown with a nice hole through the middle takes it down to the 37, and he's very close to a first down. Greg Jackson makes the tackle.
Not supposed to be able to run very effectively against the Eagles up the middle. This one's close enough for a measurement. Gary Lane calls for the chains, but good work up inside by Flannery. Bruce Matthews at center. Norgard substituting for Donnelly at right guard. Good job of controlling Harmon and the Fridge.
Yeah, this offensive line has been maligned all season long. They're doing a good job tonight against a pretty tough Eagles defense.
Just a little short.
Well, they've had their problems in pass protection. Gave up 28 sacks coming into tonight's game, coming into the weekend. That was the most in the National Football League.
Yeah, they're going to have to call for volunteers. They don't improve in that statistic. Volunteers to play quarterback.
Well, one of the big things in sacks is also who's at quarterback. And when you've had 3 different quarterbacks playing, like the Oilers have had, they've been on that rotation with Richardson, Carlson, and Tolliver.
Unless you're a master at this offense, you're going to get sacked too.
Third and a few centimeters, and Cody Carlson pushes his way forward and should have it, and does. First down.
I think that would extrapolate 28 sacks through 6 games to about 74 sacks. There's not a whole lot of quarterbacks going to survive that over a season.
I like that. Extrapolate.
Extrapolate.
No sacks tonight, however.
That's going to hurt the extrapolation.
Yes, it will.
Well, I think that's pain that the Oilers are willing to go through. That pulled extrapolation.
That's right.
You ever have one?
Maybe. I don't know. First down at the 36. And the route was cut off as Haywood Jeffries stopped. And Cody Carlson didn't stop.
That might have been a pulled extrapolation.
Yes, it was.
Haywood Jeffries, individual coverage, it was a good read, I think, by Carlson. He had a fly pattern to Jeffries. It was single coverage. Eric Allen, for some reason, Jeffries pulled up.
4 Pro Bowls for Mr. Allen.
Kind of 3 Pro Bowls for the man he was covering, Jeffries.
Second and 10 at the 37. 10:53 to go in the third. And Gary Brown takes the little dump off. Gets it to the 31-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 5. 10:40 to go, 3rd quarter. Philadelphia leading 7-6.
Pretty good looking drive for Houston.
Look around Veterans Stadium. The Eagles next week go to Washington, then come back against Arizona and Cleveland. Then they go to Arizona, then go to Atlanta. So, not bad, all things considered. In terms of the caliber of competition, a chance for the Eagles to really get rolling. 9th play of this drive. Cody throws, and it's tipped, and it's incomplete. And a tip by Byron Evans.
It's about the 3rd tip for Byron Evans tonight. We mentioned earlier he plays against a run as good as you'd ever want a middle linebacker to do it. They leave him in the nickel. They leave him in the dime. They get their money's worth out of a really great football player, Byron Evans.
Got a penalty here. It's against the Eagles, however. There's a flag down, and the penalty is going against the Eagles for holding.
It's going to be against William Fuller, if I had to take a guess. William Fuller, defensive end, certainly grabbed and tackled Gary Brown. In Fuller's defense, he was coming off a spin move and tackled Brown. I think he'd say, and you could maybe justify the argument, how do I know if he has the football or not?
An automatic 1st down. Defensive holding. Ball is at the 26-yard line. Gary Brown fumbles the football. It is picked up by Derek Frazier, and the Eagles have it at the 35-yard line.
And a smart move by Frazier. He lost a potential touchdown, but he made certain he had the football. So many would try to scoop that up off the carpet. They'd bobble it, but Frazier comes up with a key turnover. And Philadelphia gets it back.
The Packers are hunting. The Bears are the prey. It's a Soldier Field battle, Chicago and Green Bay.
The Philadelphia Eagles, after the turnover, have it at the 35-yard line. That's the first time they've had the ball in this half. And Randall Cunningham with a 1-point lead throws, and it's batted away at the last moment, intended for Mark Bavaro.
Blaine Bishop reading Cunningham that time. The Philadelphia Eagles in the first half going to Bavaro on 4 different occasions. Let's go back to the turnover.
Good work here by Greg Townsend, number 93. He stands up Flannery, but then Bert Grossman comes knifing in from the side. He gets the hit on Gary Brown, and that pops that ball loose. That was good, solid work on the inside there by Townsend and Grossman. Frazier's the guy who was in the right place at the right time, but credit the big guys up front.
2nd and 10, and Herschel Walker picks up a couple. Since Rich Kotite took over, the Eagles have forced more turnovers than any team in the NFL. It's a span that started in 1991. There it is, 2.4 takeaways per game, 2 tonight. And it was Buddy Ryan, of course, who was here for 5 years as the head coach, and the Eagles were noted for forcing turnovers, and they have just kept it up with Kotite.
Bud Carson's teams, we might add, too, have been noted for turnovers. Bud Carson has been the man defensively who's been calling the shots for the Eagles since Richie Kotite arrived.
3rd down and 8 at the 30. You get the feeling that the Oilers are showing blitz. Flags are down all over the joint. And Randall thinks it's a free play.
It is.
And it is intended for Calvin Williams, and the crowd wanted a flag there as well. Glenn Montgomery and Anton Davis with contact before the play.
Well, the problem is that it's okay to show blitz, but don't knock your own guy off sides. And that's exactly what happened. The Oilers come up and show blitz and actually knock each other off sides. You got to watch where you're going.
Jeff Fisher a little upset, thinking, can't anyone play this game?
Multiple fouls, double fouls, encroachment, defense, number 94, offsides. We have holding, number 76 on the offense, penalties, offset, replay 3rd down.
Well, poor Glenn Montgomery, he's just minding his own business down in his stance. There's Montgomery in the middle, number 94. Here comes Michael Barrow. He knocks him off and then tries to pull him back.
Broderick Thompson gets called for the hold, number 76, offsetting fouls.
So it is third down and 8. And Cunningham fires. Nice catch by Barnett, and Barnett trying to outrun the secondary. Takes it down to the 10-yard line.
What a catch by Fred Barnett.
In the traffic, full concentration. Fisher, the defensive coordinator, upset. That wasn't all that bad a coverage. A good pass by Cunningham, but super concentration on the part of Barnett.
Talk about catching a lightning bolt.
That's 29, Darrell Lewis. He's right there. He goes for the ball. Just great concentration by Barnett.
And meanwhile, Chris Dishman is hurt, and he's behind the back of the end zone.
Look at that grab by Fred Barnett. Lewis didn't have time to make a play on that ball that was thrown with such velocity. Dishman still back behind the end zone, and
they'll have to burn a timeout, but they have to have him on his own sideline.
Chris Dishman, correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't look like he's even wearing any thigh pads. He's holding his leg.
Well, most defensive backs don't now.
Well,
it's amazing how they...
That's an invitation for injury.
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
But your defensive backs who do just about anything to lighten up, maybe get just a fraction more speed.
Chris actually looks like he's there he is right there to the left. He's hopping to get out of the way. It looks like he comes down awkwardly on his left leg.
The foot stuck to the turf.
Yeah.
And out he goes, so they're minus their key cornerback as the Eagles have a first and goal at the 9. 8:35 remaining in the third quarter. 7-6 Philly. Garner. And that's a beautiful, well, it was almost a beautiful play by Eddie Robinson, but the rest of the defense has to do its job. And he's finally forced out of bounds at the 17-yard line. And the crowd wants a penalty on Darrell Lewis.
Tell you, the guy that started that thing going, once he reverses direction, Randall Cunningham gets over there and throws a block for Charlie Garner. Looked like Eddie Robinson had the big play for a loss initially. Look on the right side. Here comes Cunningham back and gets Robinson. But the crowd incensed at the end of this thing that there was no call on Darrell Lewis.
And the Eagles run out of time on the play clock. They have to call timeout again.
They take a timeout. After a loss of 8, it'll be second and goal Philly at the 17 with 8:04 remaining in the third. Aaron Jenkins captaining the Goodyear Blimp Spirit, providing that shot at Veterans Stadium. Eagles with a second and goal at the 17, and Randall Cunningham has had his problems completing passes in the red zone. And he'll go back to throw here. Buying time, everybody covered. And he is stopped at the 17. No gain. Kenny Davidson is there. And it will be third down and goal.
Yeah, Kenny Davidson showed some maneuverability, athleticism, if you will. Penetrated the line of scrimmage. And when you run Randall Cunningham down, he had an open field beyond Kenny Davidson. Kenny Davidson might have saved a big gainer and maybe even a touchdown. One of those free agents came over from Pittsburgh and trying to fill the big shoes of the man who now plays for the Eagles, William Fuller.
There's Cunningham, 39% in the red zone. Third down and goal at the 17. Philly up by 1. Great protection. Cunningham throws, picked off in the end zone. Darrell Lewis, who had 2 last week, is out of bounds at the 12. So Cunningham had a ton of time, throws, and Lewis is right there at the goal line for the pick.
What a terrible choice. That was double coverage all the way. Darrell Lewis in front of Fred Barnett. Marcus Robertson behind him. Cunningham with a bad choice.
Did you see what Marcus Robertson did to Barnett? Look at him. Barnett's going to make the tackle, and Marcus Robertson just grabs his jersey from behind. Well, this is some game here.
Goes with their record.
Well, there have been some wild plays this weekend. Let's credit Lewis with a good interception. But Marcus Robertson here. When's the last time you saw something like that? Fred Barnett thought he was chained to the goalpost, not able to get him. Yeah, Fred's laughing about it. Oh, I don't think anybody here at the vet thinks it's very funny.
Well, what a poor decision
for
for Randall.
right.
That was double coverage. They were reading him all the way. He came back and threw it right in the hands of Darrell Lewis.
Nobody ever accused Randall Cunningham of not forcing the ball downfield into coverage. He does not like to dump it off. He wants to go downfield.
Now the Oilers running out of time on their first play after the turnover. Catch is made by Webster Slaughter, and Eric Allen pushes him out of bounds near the first down marker. ABC's Monday Night Football is being brought to you by McDonald's. What you want is what you get at McDonald's today. Southwest Airlines. It's just plain smart to fly Southwest, the low-fare airline. And cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft. Get out of the old and get into the cold.
I think people here at the Vet are starting to get a little uneasy. The Eagles clinging to a 1-point lead. Remember, they had fourth down goal at the 1-yard line. They throw an incomplete pass and don't get in. Now Randall Cunningham throws an interception in the end zone. You only get so many missed opportunities in this league before it comes back to bite you.
2nd and 1, and it is Brown taking it out to the 24-yard line to convert. First down, Oilers. Well, the last time we saw Houston, and we talked about it at the very beginning, they looked horrible. They fell behind to Pittsburgh 30-0, and talking to some of the players on the field before the game, they said, we are just not going to get embarrassed again on a Monday night when everybody's watching, and they have not been embarrassed tonight, but now they've got to try to generate something offensively.
Well, after 7 consecutive years in the playoffs, this is a team that does know how to win.
And Carlson has it batted. It is tipped, and it is incomplete. And Perry can't believe it. He almost had the interception. Romanowski is the guy who tipped it.
I guarantee if that ball would have had a ham sandwich on it, he would have caught it.
Devoured it on the spot. Not many opportunities like that for a defensive lineman.
Yeah, except here's a guy who's used to handling the ball more than most defensive linemen.
Bears had him in the backfield many times.
There he is on the left, coming in.
You get a feel for it, Dan. You always want it, though.
Couldn't bring home the bacon.
Oh, come on.
2nd and 10 at the 23.
Look out!
Oh! William Thomas. Crunching sack.
And Cody
put him right on that
not
left shoulder.
hopping right up.
Cody Carlson with the shoulder and the knee.
He pops up and he's shaken.
Talked about the speed of number 51. Richie Kotite loves him defensively. He makes plays. Forces fumbles, interceptions. He's always around the football. Great speed from the corner.
And not that violent a hit.
Fortunately for Carlson, because it was the left shoulder that has been damaged, and that was the one that was exposed.
He was lucky. That could have been a lot worse.
3rd and 18. Thomas's 2nd sack of the year, and Cody has to take a timeout.
They were down to 1 second again. We have seen some poor clock management by both of these clubs here tonight.
In Philadelphia, Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Dierdorf, Lynn Swan working the sidelines. Eagles on top, 7-6, 5:25 to go in the 3rd. Houston after a timeout, 3rd and 18 from the 16. And it's Brown on a wraparound, taking it out to the 24, loses the football, but he was down. He was down, no fumble.
He was down, but Gary Brown carrying that ball very loosely tonight. He lost one earlier. Kept flapping around in the traffic.
And the other turnover was the Eric Allen interception, and that's the key play in the game right now because it set up the Philly touchdown.
And he was well down before the ball came loose.
Camarillo to kick. Jeff Seidner back to accept it. It's a 36-yard kick. And Seidner with a 7-yard run back out to the 47. Eagles have it near midfield. 4:35 left in the 3rd. Philly by 1. There's your lineup tomorrow night in prime time on ABC, starting with Full House and ending with NYPD Blue. And then the lineup on Wednesday night, beginning with Thunder Alley and closing with an ABC News special, The Blame Game. Tomorrow and Wednesday in prime time right here on ABC.
The Eagles could use a little home improvement right now.
Yes.
Only leading by 1 point, favored by 11.
And Cunningham off the play fake. Randall going deep, and Barnett makes the catch. And Fred Barnett scores. Touchdown Eagles.
Oh, boy. Well, it took a while, but two great athletes combining. Terrific pass by Cunningham. Sprinting to the right. Barnett. Easy catch. Difficult to get into the end zone.
Well, some measure of redemption for Fred Barnett. Had one long pass called back by a penalty. Had another long pass where he just plain had the ball stolen away from him.
187 yards in receptions tonight. Receiving yards for Barnett. 5 catches. That one was 53 yards. And Eddie Murray for the extra point. Brian Barker puts it down. And Philly now leads by 8.
And a good piece of execution by Randall Cunningham. First on the sprint to the right on a dead run. Perfect tight spiral. Barnett had beaten his man, Chris Dishman. Spins out of the arms of an Oiler tackle. That was Robertson, and breaks the play into the end zone.
The initial effort at a tackle by Dishman was horrible. Chris Dishman beaten on the play, but then this attempt at a tackle, what is that? And then he just stands there, watch Barnett go into the end zone. That's an embarrassing play by Chris Dishman.
Eagles struggling on offense all night long, and then all of a sudden lightning.
Barnett tonight with 3 catches of 50 or more yards. He's hauled one in for 58, another for 54, and this one for 53.
Well, this has to make him feel so good. Tore that knee up in the 4th game a year ago. Pro Bowl after the 92 season, and was off to a great start a year ago. And then all the months of rehab, all the pain you go through, and to come up with a big play like that.
Look at this. Look at this. He gives it to Lynn Swan.
That's a great sight.
Well, that's
one great receiver handing the ball to another.
Yeah, that's recognizing greatness.
Eddie Murray to kick off. Something tells me we're going to get a sideline report from Swanee pretty soon. He was relatively close to the action there. So, Lynn, what are you going to do with the football?
Hey, Al, he just came over to the sideline, and he just handed me the ball. He just said, this one's for you. Tremendous sign of respect, I guess, from one receiver to another. I think I'll have him autograph it and put it on my mantle.
Right.
I think he might want your autograph, Lynn. You guys noticed Lynn warming up Cody Carlson tonight, took the jacket off. In the warm-up drill, he's out there snagging that ball, one hand.
Dropped a couple, too.
Lynn is like me, wait for that seniors league to come around.
Swanee has been out there every week shagging balls during pregame warm-up.
Well, there's Dishman, who was shaken up the last time the Eagles had the ball and came back in and was beaten on that play. The ball is at the 40 after the kick went out of bounds. And with 4:18 to go in the 3rd, Cody Carlson on 1st and 10 gives it to Gary Brown. And he picks up just a yard. Well, with the new rules, you're down by 8. You still can tie it with 6 plus a deuce, but the way the Oilers are going, and Kevin Gilbride and their offense,
they're going to worry about that a little later.
Trouble.
They have really struggled, but you think of the run and shoot offense, and they're somewhere in between that and trying to tie it in. But you've got to throw up in at least in the 60% completion, and they came in with a combined completion percentage of about 49% tonight. Cody Carlson, 41.9% of completion of the games he's played. That just won't get it done.
Didn't they used to have a pretty good quarterback down there?
He threw it about 60%. Warren Moon.
2nd and 9, and the pass is too high, intended for Gary Brown. 3rd and 9. Cody barking at himself.
Well, he had the open guy. He just let it go a little high. And I'm telling you something, those are big numbers, those two in the middle. The ones on either end are okay, but 187 yards total and a 37.4 average. Big night for Fred Barnett.
His career high 193 in 1992 against the Cardinals.
I'd say that's in jeopardy.
3rd and 9, and Carlson floats it, and the catch is made by Haywood Jeffries at the 30-yard line, and the Oilers are back in business.
Well, that's a fine catch, too, by Jeffries. That ball laid up just off the fingertips. Kept his arms down, kept him in stride. A lot of receivers would have leaped for that and lost it.
28-yard reception.
Eric Allen.
Just when he had to.
Yeah, Eric Allen really upset with himself, but pretty hard to defend a pass that's thrown that high. It's coming almost straight down to a receiver that tall at 6'2". I don't know what Eric Allen could have done on that.
He's been beat several times this year on a little move to the inside and then the fly.
Here's an inside handoff to Wellman, and a great play made by William Fuller. Smelled it out, and it's almost as if Fuller knew that was in Houston's playbook last year when he was an Oiler.
Well, he chases that thing down from behind. It's really going to the opposite side of the formation, but Fuller showing a lot of speed, and really the first big play by William tonight. Here he is, the closest guy to us. He goes into the chase. Unfortunately, Wellman has to come so far.
Gary Brown
Fuller
flat missed the block.
Yeah, Fuller picked up some speed. A big game for William Fuller tonight, though. He left Houston with a bad taste in his mouth. He thought the Oilers didn't show him enough respect and didn't try hard enough to keep him.
On 2nd and 10. Carlson, look out, Fuller again. The ball is still loose. Andy Harmon tries to get it and does.
Oh, wow. Well, what did we tell you about Andy Harmon? Somehow or other, he's always going to be around it.
And I think the taste in William Fuller's mouth just got a little sweeter.
That's the daily double for William.
Yeah. He was blocked initially by David Williams and blocked pretty effectively. Took him upfield. Cody Carlson, though, holding on to the ball for a while.
It's just good coverage downfield. He has no place to put it.
After a while, the quarterback knows he's going to have to take a hit. Carlson didn't protect the football and paid the price.
2:14 remaining, 3rd quarter.
Huge series now for the Oilers defensively. They do not have an offense to come from behind by too much. An Eagles score here is real trouble.
Philly leads by 8. This is Vaughn Hebron. And he gets ridden out of bounds after he crosses the 50, and there's a flag thrown.
And that's going to be for a late hit. Chris Dishman looks like he's at the middle of this again. And that is Chris Dishman that throws Hebron right into the flag, right into the down marker.
Crew discussing it. Tolliver, meanwhile, Billy Joe loosens up. Gary Lane, the referee tonight.
All right, there's Dishman locked up on Hebron. The ball goes down, but watch the end of this right here. He just literally throws Hebron.
Double fouls. Illegal use of the hands. Hands to the face offense, number 87. Personal foul.
28.
28.
Number 28 on the defense. Penalties offset. Replay first down.
Well, Maurice Johnson, the tight end of the Eagles, called for the illegal use of the hands, and Chris Dishman after the play and way out of bounds for the personal foul. On the right-hand side, there's 87. There's Maurice Johnson, and, well, a good look right there at the right hand, right up in the face mask. And Chris Dishman lucky that his not real smart play at the end, he got away with it.
Back once we begin. 1st and 10. Big hole. Vaughn Hebron. And a first down as he rides the Oilers down to the 36-yard line. Houston trying to strip it. And Hebron holding on and taking it down for a pickup of 16.
I think that's That Dishman again that tries to get in there and strip the ball away.
Well, we talked about Garner's smallness. Hebron is 5'8", 190 pounds, and he runs a lot like Garner. Just accelerates, tucks. Look, he hides the football well, covers it up. Dishman trying to pull it out of there.
He tried to pull it out and got pulled about 7 or 8 yards in the process.
Barnett in motion. Here's Hebron to the right side on first down, going nowhere. Al Smith knocks him down.
Well, you gotta give the Oilers credit for tenacity here. They are putting up a fight defensively. I think they've been down this road before at 1-5, and they know what happens if they fall behind by too much. And I think you can see by the way the Oilers are being aggressive here that they sense the urgency of this defensive stand that they are attempting to make.
2nd and 11. Half a minute to go, third quarter, and the play clock expires. So the Eagles late in getting up to the line, and a delay of game penalty.
I can't recall a game where I have seen as many miscues on both sides in clock management.
I tell you, that had to be late coming into Randall. Ordinarily you could blame it on Randall, but
no, I don't. I'm not affixing blame to players.
Well, I'm not either, but I'm just saying that Randall is shaking his head. He's just not getting to play in time to get to the line of scrimmage.
It is
and when you are that late coming in with it, you don't get an opportunity to change it off if you get the defensive set you don't want to see, and you can't automatic.
More often than not, it's because it's late coming in from the sidelines, and I think that's a new sign now in the National Football League. We understand what that means. I can't hear you. My radio's not working.
Audio difficulties. 2nd and 16. Cunningham, reverse roll. Herschel Walker, who's been pretty silent to this point, makes the catch, and down he goes at the 33, and we've got a fight at the 45-yard line. It is Broderick Thompson. He's the Eagle involved.
Well, you don't see this very often.
And it's Ray Childress.
Not where two guys down on the ground, helmets flying. I mean, these are big guys going at it here now. This isn't Andre Rison and Deion Sanders. This is
WWF stuff.
Yeah, this is. Somebody may be leaving us here. Fighting in the NFL is not tolerated except by Rison and Sanders.
Right, except by superstars.
And there was the punch landed there, so nobody got hurt.
Gary Lane.
Thompson was blocking on the backside against Childress.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 76 on the offense during the play. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. 2nd down.
Ooh.
Well, Gary Lane making the call. Gary, the only referee in the league who was a former NFL player.
So the call goes against Broderick Thompson. No foul called against the Houston Oilers, and damaging to Philadelphia. Just a short distance to go, though, for the first down.
That's the end of the third quarter. 14-6, Philadelphia. Monday Night Football back after this from our ABC station. At Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Dierdorf, Lynn Swan working the sidelines. Our producer Ken Wolf, director Craig Janoff. Monday Night Football, 8th week, 8 out of 17 Monday nights. Almost at the halfway mark.
Off to Chicago next Monday night.
Halloween night, Bears, Packers.
Have we had a game on Halloween night since Indianapolis?
No, sir. The Wild one in Indy, 88. We start the fourth quarter here. It is 2nd and 31 after that last penalty from the 42. Philly up by 8. Cunningham tries to get about half of it back, and Mark Bavaro was the intended receiver. Incomplete.
I don't know whether Dishman got a hand on it or not. He made a good play for it, though. Could have even picked that off. Cunningham looking for Bavaro. Good looking shot at it. Dishman right in front of him.
Number 76. Penalties declined. Third down.
Broderick Thompson with the hole, and it's declined. It's 3rd and 31.
They're in this 3rd and 31 because of a penalty on Thompson, and that one got declined. He could have put him in a 3rd and 41 if they would have accepted that thing.
And we have been told that we will be seeing a new Oiler quarterback in the next series. Joe Tolliver warming up. Not a lot of faith in your starter, is it? You're only down by 8.
Which way?
3rd and 31. Eagles have to get to the Oiler 27 to convert. And Randall throws it about 10 yards out of bounds. Nobody even close.
Nobody even open.
Yep. Nobody close to being open.
So precious little chance of converting for the total yardage on 3rd and 31. Certainly no time to throw an interception. And again, Randall Cunningham, not much of a guy to work underneath. He loves to go downfield and admits it.
Brian Barker toward Ernest Gibbons. And Ernest gets hit right away. It was Otis Smith who got down there after a 34-yard punt. So Tolliver takes over, and the Oilers trail by 8.
Boy, what a message to send to your starting quarterback. You're at 14 minutes and 42 seconds in the 4th quarter. You're down by 8 points. And a moment ago, it was Cody on the sidelines who gave the hook sign himself. Not happy with Billy Joe Tolliver coming on, I'm sure.
Tolliver came on in the 4th quarter in Houston's last game and got it into a touchdown against Cleveland in an 11-8 loss. So Tolliver from the 24, 14-6 Philadelphia, gives it to Gary Brown, who gains 1. Tolliver was a 2nd-round draft choice of San Diego in 1989. He started for the Chargers in 1990. There were his numbers against Cleveland. And then he spent 3 years with Atlanta. Atlanta wanted him to come to camp this summer, and he said no because they wanted him to play for the minimum. Sam Weich talked to him about going to Tampa. He didn't want to go there. And then he signed with Houston after the first game of the regular season.
He must have known he was going to play.
2nd down and 9. Tolliver throws. Catch is made up at the 36-yard line by Haywood Jeffries.
And well delivered by Tolliver.
And a nice job on the sideline by Haywood of getting both feet down. Good body control. That was a good-looking play. Well executed, well thrown, well caught. Watch Jeffries on the sideline. The catch, boy, both feet down. That's beautiful. Great look at it.
Yeah, it shows you the respect they have for Jeffries, too. Eric Allen laying way off.
A lot of times you get a new quarterback. We've seen it before. Comes in the game, makes something happen. Good and bad.
Billy Joe ridden down by William Thomas. That's Thomas's 2nd sack of the night.
Tolliver finding nowhere to go.
I don't think we'll see. I think we'll probably see a little more blitzing now. You should bring a new quarterback off the bench. Hasn't played that much. So you bring the linebackers, and here comes William Thomas. Bud Carson's been around this league long enough to know just keep blitzing until something happens.
Thomas manhandled Gary Brown and just threw him out of the way.
First time in Thomas's career he's had a 2-sack game at a 2nd and 12 from the 35. Early 4th quarter, Eagles lead by 8.
Here comes the blitz off the corner.
Tolliver throws. Ernest Gibbons makes the catch, and Ernest Gibbons is out of bounds at the 50-yard line.
Tolliver with a good pass, but he paid the price.
Yeah.
Grossman really leveled it.
If you call losing your helmet paying the price. The backside blitz came. Otis Smith came. The play went the other way, but Tolliver still takes the big hit. The blitz from the far is coming here at the bottom. There's Otis Smith, number 30. Bruce Matthews gets him. But Grossman delivers a fine old stroke to Billy Joe.
Billy Joe from the little town of Boyd, Texas, in North Texas. First down. He was happy to get back to the Lone Star State after Brown gains 2. In fact, somebody called Billy Joe, and when it appeared Houston was interested in him, and said, would you like to sign with the Oilers? And he said, if the Oilers sign me, I'll tattoo "Love You Blue" on my butt and crawl back to Houston.
Well, I used to think minimum wage was tough enough. It's bad enough having to join the old 162 club without having to deface yourself in the process.
Is that in the bargaining agreement?
2nd and 7. Tolliver throws, and it's almost picked off by Otis Smith, and it's a flag down at the 30-yard line. Flag down in the secondary.
Well, did he? I guess
that's the next question.
Do we know? Lynn.
Yeah, that's right. Left Swanee check it.
Illegal contact, defense. Number 51, 5-yard penalty, first down.
William Thomas.
He's back in the defensive coverage, and he gave one of the Oiler receivers a pretty good shot. Certainly beyond the 5-yard limit.
Oilers at the 43. 12:02 remaining in the fourth quarter.
Comes blitz.
And it's Brown. And Gary Brown is inside the 20, tackled at the 18. Mark McMillan finally stops him.
So far, Billy Joe Tolliver has been very impressive against the blitz. They have blitzed him on every play. He's made big plays on a couple of occasions, and the Oilers are moving downfield. Watch the top of your screen. William Thomas, number 51, comes across the line of scrimmage, gets in Tolliver's face. He gets the ball to Brown, and Brown gets the yardage down the sideline.
They faked that reverse to Wellman that they ran earlier. The one, remember the one that William Fuller ran down from behind, and that was the companion play to it, and it worked.
24-yard gain on first down. Here is Brown, the workhorse, takes it to the 14-yard line. That's a gain of 4. Philadelphia leading 14-6.
Tolliver only played 7 minutes. You saw the stats a moment ago, the fourth quarter of last week's game against Cleveland. Only played 7 minutes that fourth quarter and was rather effective.
That 7 minutes was his entire season as well.
Gary Brown's numbers aren't that good, but he seems to be having a lot better night than that would indicate.
You'd look at those numbers and think that they were inaccurate.
Yeah, they're accurate, but he's having a better night than those numbers show. 25 rushes coming back from a month off with a twisted ankle.
Here comes everybody.
And on second down, Ernest Givens makes the catch. A first down at the 6-yard line. Mark McMillan with a tackle. First and goal.
Yeah, I'm impressed. Billy Joe Tolliver changed that at the line of scrimmage, read the blitz when he came up to the line of scrimmage, changed the play, and fired a perfect shot into Ernest Givens.
They are successfully handling the Eagles' blitzes on this drive.
Gary Brown with a good pickup.
That ball was deflected, wasn't it?
Tipped.
Yeah.
Gary Brown with a good block on Greg Jackson, the safety.
First and goal at the 5. 9:55 left in the fourth. Brown again. Brown loses the football, but an Oiler is there to recover it. Webster Slaughter saves the day.
And that was a fumble. That ball did come out before Brown was on the ground. Very fortunate bounce, and it hopped right to Webster Slaughter. That was a jarring hit, though, to bring that thing. You could hear that thing all the way up here in the booth. Somebody laid a pretty good tattoo on Gary Brown, and I'm not sure this one says "Love You Blue." Looks like Byron Evans was the guy that came in there and put a pretty good shot on him. And that is a free ball right there.
They ran out of time again.
Oilers are going to take a timeout. Second and goal when we come back from the 2. Bud Carson's Eagle defense trying to stiffen against Kevin Gilbride's Houston offense, guided by sixth-year quarterback Billy Joe Tolliver out of Texas Tech, his first series of the night.
And I'll guarantee you, Al, that both Carson and Gilbride are already thinking about their offensive play and their defensive play when they go for 2 if they score.
Second and goal. Oh, and Brown loses the football.
Well, you can stop thinking about it now.
Gary Brown fumbles again. Brent Hager recovers.
I'll tell you, it's one of the problems you have when you bring in a quarterback that has not worked that much. Whether it's Gary Brown or
that pitch
just a little high, it catches Gary Brown right up around the mask. Has a little too much on it. That one is the kind you lay out in front and let him run into it. The little flip is to Gary Brown. The ball should have been laid out in front of him. Gary Brown did take his eyes off it, but the ball was thrown a little too hard and not out in front of him, hit him right in the face mask.
Now the Eagles have it, and Herschel Walker gives them some breathing room, takes it out to the 11-yard line.
Well, I've just never been a big fan of pitching the ball in that situation. You've got a new quarterback who hasn't run that many plays. You've got a running back who's coming back from injury. This is his first game in a couple of weeks. And it's a tough play to run on the goal. I know they practice it over and over. It's not Kevin Gilbride's fault that they fumble the football. I'm just stating a personal preference. I've never been a big fan of pitching the ball in a goal line situation.
Second and 4, and they give it to Herschel again, and he takes it out to the 14-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 1 with 8.5 to go in the 4th.
You see Gary Brown, watch his eyes. Now he takes his eyes off the ball, and he's looking at the traffic ahead of him. But had that ball been laid in front of him and laid a little more softly, it wouldn't have mattered. We'll probably run this thing hundreds of times in practice. Perhaps not Tolliver and Gary Brown together. So that's one of the reasons probably that it's not a good call down here.
That's the point.
But boy, I'll tell you, 6 points and as many times as the Oilers have been down there threatening, that's not good.
3rd and 1, and Herschel again. So all of a sudden, Walker, who didn't carry the ball once last week in the Dallas game, but he did make 5 receptions, has carried 3 times in a row here, and that time off a block by the rookie Joe Panos.
Yeah, they always get around to him, don't they? Come back to him. Very reliable. He'll hold on to the football for you.
Panos 63 right there, the rookie taking out Eddie Robinson.
Taking him out. Yeah, I'd say he took him out. Picked him up, spun him around, and tackled him and put him on the ground.
From the 22-yard line, 1st down, Philadelphia. Walker again. Up to the 26-yard line.
Well, it's pretty obvious.
Here we go.
Kotite is going to try to grind this clock down.
Montgomery doing his Hogan imitation.
This Eagle defense, the Oiler defense rather, they fight. They scrap week in and week out. They're trying to keep this club within striking distance. You got to give Jeff Fisher a lot of credit. Their offense just hasn't gotten it done this season, and yet there's been no quit in their defensive football team. They play with fire, they play with intensity, and they play with some nastiness. They know this game's not over with.
2nd and 6, and again they call Walker's number a 5th consecutive time, and he's close to a 1st down. Well, stopped by Blaine Bishop.
I kind of like what I see with this offensive line of Philadelphia. They're young, it's new, and you know they're in the huddle. They know if they control the clock at this point of the game, they got to win. It might be ugly, but they'll have a win. And they'll only be 1 behind Dallas. So they give it to the man who'll hold on to it, and they try to blow that tough defense out of there, and they're doing a pretty good job of it.
But of all the things that have happened in Philadelphia in the last 5 years, their improvement of the offensive line is the single most important thing. They used to be horrible up front.
3rd and 1, Walker again, and they just hand it over to Herschel a 6th consecutive time. 1st down up at the 37-yard line.
Of course, you got to understand something. Their offensive line ought to show some improvement. They've got a #1 draft choice in '91 in Anton Davis, a #1 draft choice in '93 in Lester Holmes, and a #1 in '94 in Bernard Williams. Now, there's Lester Holmes, who's been on the sideline, and he's been out since the very beginning of the game. But this is a team that has devoted some attention to the offensive line, and there's a good look at it right there. And it's been since 1981 when Jerry Sizemore went to the Pro Bowl, That's going to change for the Eagles.
Walker, he's a horse and a half now. That's 7 straight carries for Herschel, but he needs a rest.
Horse and a half. I thought it was a Haas and a half.
A horse and a half.
There's no R in Haas.
Now we'll get a little offensive change, and Freddie Barnett comes in, Hebron comes in, and Walker will get a breather.
And a hand.
Not a bad time for a little play action.
Eagles, meanwhile, doing a great job taking a lot of time off the clock. 2nd and 10. Hebron again. And Hebron fights his way up to the 45-yard line. It'll be 3rd down along 3. Good. This is good clock management now by Philadelphia, keeping that clock moving. And Houston has been forced to use timeouts along the way. In fact, the Oilers have used 2 of their timeouts, so they can only stop the clock once more plus the 2-minute warning. It's incumbent now on the Oiler defense. So this is a very critical play right here. If they convert here, the Eagles can take a lot more time off that clock. 3rd and a short 4. Eagle after it was deflected.
I guess David Alexander
winds up with it. But they're short of the 1st down, and they're forced to kick.
Houston coming with the blitz, and they get a man right in Cunningham's face. He had to force this in. Just ducked away from a shot that he was going to get. This hit right in the back of his own man, James Joseph.
I think it hit him right in the ear hole. Thing hit him right. It looked like right on the shoulder pad or the side of the helmet.
Brian Barker to punt. Mitch Berger was their draft choice punter, and he lasted 4 games, and they had to call for Barker's help. And it's Givens at the 17, and he goes into reverse. Tackle by Britt Hager. Hager does a nice job on the coverage and sends him back inside the 15-yard line. 3 minutes even. The Oilers have it. They're down by 8. They have 1 timeout and the 2-minute warning. Ball is at the 9-yard line.
Interesting to see what defensive coordinator Bud Carson does here as we look at Givens and his travails at the 10-yard line.
There cannot be a more difficult job in this game than returning punts.
You wonder if Carson will stay with the blitz. Ever since Billy Joe Tolliver has come on, the Eagles have come with the blitz.
Oilers now out of the gun. Tolliver, I think he was hit as he threw it, intended for Ernest Givens. William Fuller put the rush on.
No blitz there. Fuller just with good pass coverage. Tolliver trying to bounce around and hold on to the ball and get a late delivery. It's just Fuller breaking the block and getting in Tolliver's face. Good coverage by the secondary of Philadelphia.
Yeah, Mark McMillan was the corner over there in coverage. If that ball would have been thrown out there with something on it, he may have had a play on it.
2nd and 10. Billy Joe throws it out of bounds. Intended receiver was Haywood Jeffries. 3rd down.
And it's a good thing he threw that one out of bounds, because I think Eric Allen was getting ready to step in front of that one. That was, I think, a conscious decision by Tolliver to throw that ball away. Eric Allen was all over Jeffries.
So 3rd down. Oilers hanging in there all night long. They certainly had their opportunities, but still down by 8.
Eagles are about to make a statement here. Their offensive line blowing the Oilers off the ball on that drive, using up the clock. They need a big play here defensively.
3rd down and 10. 4-man rush. The pressure is on, but Tolliver steps up, throws, and it's dropped. Gary Wellman dropped it at the 22-yard line, and they'll have to punt.
Boy, I'll tell you. Well, Gary Wellman returning to action for the first time in months. I guess you can excuse it to somewhat, but this was a big play. It was 1st down yardage. Tolliver had bought the time to deliver it. It was right in there. Otis Smith got lost in the spin around, and Wellman just couldn't hold on to it.
Camarillo to kick. Seidner to return it. 42-yard kick. And Seidner takes it all the way down to the 32-yard line.
Those low-liners are the ones you can run right down their throat. They don't get the coverage downfield. You pop the initial line and you're gone.
And now the Oilers, those timeouts will come back to haunt them now because they can only stop it once, plus once more at the 2-minute warning. 21-yard run back for Seidner. Here's a reminder, Saturday on ABC Sports, Colorado, Nebraska. National game number 3 against number 2 at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time, and then regional action. Ohio State, Penn State, highlighting regional coverage. If the game you'd like to see is not in your area, call your cable operator for the pay-per-view option.
Well, that Penn State Ohio State game could be something.
On the 32, well, there's a whistle before the snap.
False start. Offense. Number 63. Prior to the snap, 5-yard penalty. Remain first down.
Gary Wellman couldn't hold on, and the Oilers probably won't be able to hold on now as well.
Tough year for Jack Pardee, one of the greats who ever played this game. Played 15 years in the NFL and head coach at the Redskins, the old WFL, the Chicago Bears, winner everywhere he's been. He's had the Oilers in the playoffs in each of the years that he's been here. It'll be tough this year.
1st and 15 at the 37. Walker. And all he just wants to do now is stay in bounds, and the Oilers are forced to take a timeout at this point, and that's their final timeout. So the Eagles will run another play, and then the clock will stop at the 2-minute warning, and it'll be 3rd down. And then they'll be able to take another 40 seconds at least off the clock.
About 4 weeks down the line, we'll get to see the Oilers again.
Against the New York Giants in the Astrodome on the 21st of November. Next week we will go to Chicago. It's always great to go into Soldier Field on a Monday night. The Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears, one of the classic rivalries.
Instead of both wear their old throwback uniforms. Wouldn't that be kind of fun?
Yep.
Eric Kramer is back for the Bears. He had a 300-yard game yesterday against Detroit.
Are they wearing the throwback uniforms for that game?
That's a good idea.
I think they're supposed to.
Are they?
I read that before the season.
We ought to wear our throwback. We'll get out the yellow uniform.
You know,
the yellow.
it's fitting that the Packers will wear that uniform on Halloween because those helmets look like giant pumpkins.
2nd and 13. Well, Randall's going to put it up. And an incomplete. And the Oilers say thank you very much for stopping the clock with 2:27 to go in the 4th.
What was that?
I have no idea.
He was not going to get it picked off for one.
But the Oilers say Christmas has come on the 24th of October.
Why would you put the ball in the air? Obviously, you put it in the air to try to complete it.
Yeah, you could have taken that to the 2-minute warning. Well,
absolutely. You stay on the ground, and then you're down at 2 minutes, and then it's 3rd down. And then it's 4th down with 1:20 or 1:15. Well. 3rd and 13.
You better hurry, Randall.
And the catch is made by James Joseph, and they got away with it. Touchdown.
James Joseph,
what running?
had a 34-yard touchdown last week against Dallas and does it again. Well, I guess it's okay to throw the ball on 2nd down as long as you throw a touchdown on 3rd down.
Great strategy. Way to go, Zeke, Richie. Good calls. That's how it'll be remembered. Joseph circling out of the backfield. Very heady player, Joseph. Sees the coverage, breaks underneath it, then just breaks tackles. Again, Al Smith with the missed tackle. And it was Darrell Lewis with another one.
Eddie Murray to tack on one more.
Missed tackles are symptomatic of a lot of problems on a football team.
Well, the Eagles, not an artistic success tonight, but a good example of grinding away. Their defense played good, hard-nosed football, doesn't give up a touchdown. A pair of Houston field goals is all they give away, and just keep banging away at it long enough, and you'll find your way into the end zone.
Well, there's some determination in the run.
A touchdown in the second, the third, and the fourth quarter by the Eagles.
Winds up our coverage. The Eagles won Monday night this year, but long talk with Richie before the game. So I told him we'd see him in the playoffs. I think we will.
Well, Al mentioned their schedule earlier. I think that's a favorable schedule. And there's a proud man, Ray Childress. He's one of those AAA ball players. He can play anywhere, anytime for anybody. And it's toughest on the really proud ball players when you're 1-6. Those are the guys that hurt the most.
Nothing against Kenny Davidson, but Childress was a much better player when William Fuller was on his left. They were a tough combination over that left side of the Oilers a year ago.
Eddie Murray. John Henry Mills juggles, fumbles, recovers. Well, for the Oilers, when you think about it, here's a team that waited and waited and waited and couldn't make the Warren Moon decision until it was too late to really make any kind of significant trade, and then they gave the ball to Carlson and he got hurt. They brought in Sean Salisbury to be the potential backup, and he couldn't do it. They sent him back to Minnesota. Then they bring in Bucky Richardson, and this guy Billy Joe Tolliver is sitting at home, and he's the man right now.
And they really can't decide what kind of offense they're going to go with. They open up. We had Mexico City, and whether it was, certainly I don't think the head coach's decision to bring in the tight end, Pat Carter from the Rams, that they wanted to integrate the tight end offense with a run and shoot. And when you're going with both of them, you have neither.
Tolliver going deep. Ooh, Pat Coleman really took a shot, but he gets up. It's incomplete. Greg Jackson made his presence felt.
I'll tell you, that was reminiscent of 1991, wasn't it?
From up here, this vantage point, you can see that coming about 20 yards before it happened. Jackson was so deep that he just stood there and waited for the play to come right to him. Look at that. As a safety, you just dream about that. And Pat Coleman, showing some real toughness, hops right up.
2nd and 10. That's incomplete, intended for Lorenzo White, who's now in the game, and that takes us to the 2-minute warning with 1:54 to go, and the Eagles on their way to a record of 5-2, up by 15. .154 to go. These two teams don't meet very much. It's only the 6th meeting in history between the Eagles and the Oilers, and the Eagles will now be a perfect 6-0 against Houston.
And what do they do on here at the Vet with Randall at quarterback? They go to 19-0, and they win their 10th consecutive Monday night game, or their 9th? They're 9th, going all the way back to 79?
Yep.
Wow.
3rd and 10, and that's about as ugly a screen as you'll ever see, and Lorenzo White takes it out to the 28-yard line. And it's 4th down, and they'll go for it and try to convert. And
I have to wonder who will be the starting quarterback for the Oilers next week when they go against. Who do they have next week?
They have the Raiders. Dan Pastorini. 4th and 2.
But how do you go back on Cody Clausen when you take him out with that much time remaining and you're down by 8 points?
I'm wondering if part of it isn't that, Carlson was banged up coming in anyway, but one of a myriad of problems. Jack O'Hara is the executive producer in tonight's game, as always, produced so brilliantly by Ken Wolf, directed by Craig Janoff, our technical director Joe Chavo, our associate producer Ben Harvey. Jaime Bravo is our associate director. Mike Webb, our production manager. Dennis Zabel and Mike Farrell, our tech operations managers. Fred King and Brian Gordon. Steve Hurt, our director of information. Kurt Gowdy Jr. produced halftime for us tonight, and Larry Cam directed it. And up in the booth, Andrea Bryant, our statistician. George Hill, and our spotter, Malibu Kelly Hayes. Mark Amell, Brian Mogelson, Bill Monahan. And our crew, our gang, heading on now to Chicago.
Getting on down the road.
Heading to the Windy City, where we'll take a look at the Bears against the Green Bay Packers on Halloween night under a new moon.
A little Halloween madness, I fear.
The immortal words of the great one, the dogs bark and the caravan moves on.
Over 300 yards there for Randall. 310. The 11th of his career. A good solid night for Mr. Cunningham.
345, go!
Kneel down by Randall. And technically he has to run one more play, but I'm not sure Gary Lane's going to hold him to it.
A long flight for those two.
And a long flight. Well, they'll go back home, and then they go to the Coliseum. The Eagles, meanwhile, play at Washington next week. Then Arizona comes in. Then the surprising Browns come in, but that'll be a good test for Cleveland. And Philly goes to Arizona and Atlanta. So the Eagles are 5-2. The Oilers are 1-6.
Well, the Eagles, unless something catastrophic happens, they're a playoff team. I don't think there's any doubt of that. With their talent, with their schedule, you have to assume that they'll be in it, even if it's a wild card. And who knows, they get one more shot at the Cowboys.
December 4th right here, and the Cowboys in the past have struggled here.
They're a good, solid, all-around ball club.
As long as they don't look too far ahead.
Final score, Philadelphia 21, Houston 6. Talk to you from Chicago next week. Until then, Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Dierdorf, Lynn Swan. Good night from Philadelphia.
ABC's NFL Monday Night Football has been brought to you by Dr. Pepper and your local Dr. Pepper bottler. Dr. Pepper is just what the doctor ordered. Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? FedEx, for documents, packages, and freight worldwide. Our most important package is yours. And Miller Lite. Great taste, less filling. Can your beer do this? Saturday on ABC's College Football. Colorado tackles Nebraska in the Big 8 game of the year. Followed by undefeated Penn State hosting Ohio State. Or other regional action. Now, except on the West Coast, stay tuned for your late local news and ABC News Nightline over most of these ABC stations. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports, recognized around the world as the leader in sports television.